Good morning, good morning, good morning, my beautiful people. Happy Thursday. Welcome to Twisted Tragedies, where we follow all the twists and turns wherever they lead. I am your host, Elise, and we have a good case that I have never heard of before until now. Now, excuse my frizz. I'm one of those people who has Puerto Rican hair, so it just frizzes out all the time, especially in the heat, and it's raining right now. So I apologize for said frizz. So I know I missed yesterday. One of my friends sadly lost his 15-year-old son in a dirt bike accident. I was really sad. He was a good kid, and you never think something like that is going to happen nonetheless, to someone you know. So, say a little prayer for the family because that's a really, really hard thing to deal with, like a really difficult thing to deal with. Good morning, Adam. Good morning. Good morning, all of my beautiful people. I actually totally forgot to post in the Facebook groups. My bad. So if anybody's in the Facebook groups, DJ, that's talking to you. Can you post a link in the Facebook groups? I totally space cadetted out on that and forgot to do it this morning. So sorry, I'm discombobulated, but I do have coffee, and that's the plus, my friends. So if you're in the true crime Facebook pages, of course, you can post a link there. I space cadetted it out and forgot, so I apologize. So let me pull up. I want to pull up a picture here. Come on, computer, work with me here. Okay. This lovely couple here, wealthy couple, were the victims. And they weren't just the victims of a murder. They had been victimized by this person for an extremely lengthy period of time before the murders occurred. Right? Girl, listen. All right. I don't know if y'all check this out, but I totally did like a rainbow do for you guys today because I was like, I'm feeling kind of, me and my pops of color. I'm like, I'm popping some color today. I'm gonna do a rainbow. That's what I'm gonna do. And I got a really beautiful colored palette not that long ago, and it was like, this is my time to try this palette. Okay, so we got reds and pinks and purples, greens, blues, yellows, orange on the bottom. I did the whole color, the color wheel, if you will, my friends. And my little star sticker here. It's actually a blemish patch. And I was like, hey, whatever, it goes with my theme. And it's a day patch, and I need it on my face because I got a little blemish right here and it's got to go. So I was like, you know what? Goes with my theme anyway of color. I want it to be bright today, you know? I wanted it to be a bright day. I feel like the last couple days have been so, I wanted to put a little life into it. Put a little life into you. I missed you, Anna. I haven't seen you in a couple days. All right. So for those of you who live in the UK, though, for those of you who live in the UK, you might have heard of this case. This might be a case that you have heard of. It is not one that I had heard of before. So this lovely couple here, it's really, really sad. This is Carol and Stephen Baxter. They were a wealthy couple. They lived in the UK, obviously. So let me set the stage for you guys. And I obviously took notes because this isn't long form video. Oh, girl, listen, we will pump you up with a little energy today, okay? We'll give you a little energy. Just puts on disguise. Disguise. All right. So let me set the stage for you here. All right. What if the person that you trusted the most was the person that ultimately ended your life? Because that is what this couple here, unfortunately, had to deal with. Oh, speaking of links, I should probably put the donation link, post it, and see, I'm all out of sorts today. Pin it to the, okay, there we go. I think I did it. Pinned. Yes. Okay. The donation link is now pinned in the chat. I had totally forgot to do that. Space cadet my mind. Also, if you'd like to donate to the channel. I didn't do this in the beginning because, once again, Space Cadet McGee today, you can do so one of a bunch of different ways. These are the quickest ways to get to the channel itself instead of going through YouTube and then the whole rigmarole. Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Revolut, and then we have the link for credit or debit. And then you always have the options of buying yourself a membership if you don't already have one, doing a super chat or a super sticker. Those are the ways you can do it through YouTube itself. There's a ticker. When I take this big one off, there will be still a ticker at the bottom of the screen, right under my name right there, under my little name tag there. There's a ticker. And y'all be able to see that throughout the entire show so that I don't have to keep pulling up the big one. Sometimes people miss it, and that's why they ask me to make the big one. But for some reason, they don't let us make the ticker bigger. So it is what it is, my friends. It is what it is. All right. So this lovely couple here, the Baxters, right? They decided they needed other treatments for their medical issues, right? So, all right, let's put it this way. The person you trust the most and someone that treated you like that you treated like that was your own kid was secretly a monster that ends up killing you, because that's what this poor couple here dealt with. Making them sicker than they were, unfortunately, almost like a case of I make you sicker until I kill you, basically. And it's a really sad story, and I had no idea it existed. I was doing some research into some cases, and this one sort of caught my eye because it was a couple. It wasn't just one person. It was and by all accounts, lovely couple. They had a daughter, as far as I understand. It didn't mention any of their children, but they had a daughter, and even the poor daughter got duped. Imagine how their daughter feels. It's awful. So, this man, it was a man, isolated these poor people from the world outside. And instead of listening to their own doctors, they listened to, and this is a twisted, a tragedy. It's literally a twisted tragedy. So, okay, imagine quiet coastal town in, hold on, I wrote it down. Essex, England. That's where it was. Essex, England. Okay. A place called Mersey Island, known for its peaceful beaches and tight-knit community. It's like the kind of place where like everybody knows pretty much everyone. You know what I mean? And the trust is like a given. You leave your doors open, you don't lock them, like things of that nature. It's that quiet sort of community, right? Hold on, let me see if I can move this little picture here. I don't want to take them off the screen because they are the victims in this case. I just want to move myself down maybe. Nope. Oh, that one's better. We'll do that one. That one's cool. Okay. Hold on. I got to get back to my stupid notes here. All right. It was here that, of course, these people lived. Stephen and Carol Baxter lived what should have been, their golden years. They're, getting older. They're just trying to live life, They were 61 and 64. Stephen was 61. Carol was 64. They had built a pretty comfortable life from the ground up at that point, thanks to their company. They had a company, and it was called Kaz Splash. C-A-Z Splash. Kaz Splash. Interesting. It was an innovative company which designed and sold specialty curved shower mats. Hey, if there's a market for it, I say go for it. You know what I mean? So that's what they designed. They were essentially millionaires, all right? But they were also parents and grandparents, This was a pretty tight-knit family. They were, by all accounts, normal people, enjoying the fruits of their labor from the years and years they had worked and brought this company up from the ground up, looking forward to, holidays, birthdays, spending it with their grandchildren and their child, So into this happy home, this happy picture, enters this man, Luke DeWitt. Okay. Now, this is the first time I was hearing this name, was going through some cases. And I was like, it just gave me kind of a shake just starting reading it. I just got like the shiver down my spine, and I was like, oh, this is my inside body telling me I gotta look at this. So this guy, Luke DeWitt, enters their life. He was an IT consultant, early 30s ish, was introduced in the family back in 2014, right? To help with the company website. Simple stuff. Help with the company website, do some IT stuff like that. It was Essex, England, Emma. And, we don't often hear a lot of some of these cases because, well, in England, they don't televise them. But I do believe, even now, that some of these cases deserve some attention, especially ones that don't get televised. And, we have quite a bit of ones coming up that are going to be televised that we're going to be following. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do one that I hadn't heard of, that other people I asked hadn't heard of, but that deserves the attention nonetheless, because these people were someone's family, right? And that's why they're up there. These are the victims. I don't want to put a picture of, I'll eventually show you guys who the guy is, but these are the victims. They should be in the forefront of all of this. And this is how people get lost in this circus. It's how John got lost in the circus of his case. So, let's remember to keep the victims of all of this, these wonderful people, in the forefront of this. So anyway, he enters family 2014-ish to do some tech stuff for the website for their company, right? So he was a little quiet, nerdy, always helpful, maybe overly helpful, and always, always, always did whatever they needed done, no matter what. Always did it. So over the next 9 or so years, he didn't just stay a business contact. He latched on and embedded himself into that family, into it. He was like, hey, here I am. I'm part of this family now. Sad nonetheless, but that's what he did. He just latched on to that family. Okay. He was a constant presence, in their house, at their business. He was just there, coming over every day, and that's should have been a red flag, but every day he knew the security codes, where the spare key was, how to get in and out of every building, home that they owned, all of that, to the outside world. He looked a little weird. He was a little weird, but nerdy weird. Not like red flag weird, but a little just nerdy weird, Seemed like a loner, but a kind loner. That's what it seemed like from the outside, at least, a helpful young man who was there to help them out after, he embedded himself into this family. But it was meticulously crafted by Luke DeWitt. Okay. The real Luke DeWitt was a pathological liar, a narcissist, and a master manipulator. Now, where have we seen those types of people before, folks? Oh, that's right. Oh, shit. We just saw a bunch of them in Karen's case that embedded themselves into that and then decided to spread false conspiracy theories. So, we've seen quite a bit of these types before. But this guy, nonetheless, was a master manipulator. It's what he was. He had an end game, right? He had an end game on this. And it started to take shape around about 2021-ish. From all of my notes, it says about 2021. He was focusing more on Carol, the wife here, Carol Baxter, and her greatest vulnerability, which was her health. She had some health issues, and she had been diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease. It's a chronic autoimmune disorder. It was something to look into. They looked into with my daughter and me for autoimmune because we both have autoimmune diseases, and some of the symptoms early on were the same. So Hashimoto's disease, it's an autoimmune disorder. It attacks the thyroid gland, okay? And it can cause a wide range of debilitating symptoms like fatigue, cognitive fog, depression, making it isolating illness to manage. Autoimmune diseases in general are really hard to manage because they do have such a wide range of things that can happen or symptoms that you can get from those autoimmune diseases. Believe me, I live with it every day, so I know. Okay, you walk that dog, girl. No court dates yet. Well, there are court dates, but the next they're like a Dubai court date. It's not anything like for the civil suit, and it's not anything anytime soon, as of right this very second, of course. So it was a perfect sort of entry point for him to meticulously start this facade that he would start with Carol Baxter. He saw the illness as not a source of her suffering, which of course she was, thought nobody understood her illness. I totally get that. Been there, done that. My daughter has been there, done that. You totally understand the way she felt and why she felt that way. But he saw it as an opportunity to pounce, as a control tactic over poor Carol Baxter. So Carol, I mean, it's sad because these people were such nice people, right? They didn't deserve what happened to them, and they certainly didn't deserve what happened over the next, well, a very lengthy period. So this is where the deception sort of deepens into something truly sinister and freaking twisted. All right, no puns necessary. Luke DeWitt, the IT guy, right, created his first and most important fake persona. This man would go on to do 20 or more fake personas. But this one, this very specific one, was the one that started it all. Okay. It was a charismatic doctor from Florida. Okay. That's what he pretended to be. A knowledgeable doctor from Florida named Andrea Bowden. That's what he named her. Yeah. Andrea Bowden, posing as Dr. Bowden. Okay. He began communicating with Carol, offering her medical advice and pretty much like someone to listen to her, you know? He created like an entire online world for Carol to fall into. Really, really sick shit, okay? He didn't just stop with the doctor, though, guys. He didn't stop with Dr. Andrea Bowden, which was the first persona that he made, okay? He built 20 distinct personalities online. 20. I mean, what the hell? So there was a fictional support group for Hashimoto's sufferers, okay, filled with other fake patients. Fake patients, folks, fake patients who would share their stories and commiserate with Carol. What the hell? These fake people would even arrange to meet up with Carol, but then they would cancel at the last minute. This guy went as far as to use a voice changer to different voices, male, female, to make Carol believe these people were absolutely real, okay? He even created a fake lawyer, guys, a fake lawyer, all right? He disguised his voice as a woman named Jenny. And I couldn't forget that, even though I have it here in my notes. Couldn't forget that because I have two friends with that name. Woman named Jenny. He used that voice changer. That was the first person he used the voice changer for, was a woman named Jenny, as he made her up. It's really, it's sick. This is sick shit. But he created the fake lawyer to give his schemes like a little bit of legitimacy, at least to Carol, you know? So through these fake personas, especially the doctor, because that's the main one, okay? He systematically took over every aspect of Carol's medical care, every little bit of it, okay? He convinced her to stop trusting her own doctors that were treating her. Convinced her to stop trusting her doctors and advised her on treatments that had no clinical basis to them whatsoever. None whatsoever. So my notes say that he encouraged her to take specific health drinks and supplements that he would personally prepare for her. Ooh. Okay. These weren't just harmless smoothies, though, folks. They were his weapons that he used. At times, they were laced with drugs, tacks, all sorts of random things that made her health worse and more reliant on this psychopath to take care of her. Okay. Hey, B-Tim. So it's just so sick. His control basically at this point was absolute to poor Carol. All right. He manipulated her into spending less time with her own family, her own daughter, telling her it was for her health. For her health. Her daughter, Ellie, okay, later recalled how her mom felt so alone and lost, and how she would cry on her shoulder because no one seemed to understand her illness that was being deliberately manufactured and worsened by the friggin' man she trusted like a son. That's some cuckoo shit right there. Like, you have to be pretty sick. In one particularly cruel incident, as I just mentioned a second ago, uh, he duped the daughter into planning a fake trip to London for a fake singing competition that did not exist, all orchestrated through one of his fake personas. All right. But the manipulation wasn't just psychological, of course. There were physical episodes. Okay. One occasion was the one I just mentioned, where she had really bad stomach pain and x-rays showed she had tacks, guys, tacks in her stomach. Like, pointy tacks. Actual freaking tacks and empty pill casings. Okay? So basically he was putting these like tacks into these open the pill case and putting these tacks in there, and then she was swallowing them. I mean, that's some sick shit. So he was putting sharp metal objects into pill casings and giving her these pills to take. All right. While he was slowly but surely breaking down poor Carol, he was also trying to secure his financial position in the family that he wasn't a part of, but definitely latched on to, right? He would be at the offices of their business all the time, as I mentioned before, at their houses basically every day. And at some point, he literally made a fake will. I kid you not, folks. He literally made a freaking fake will. Not a very good one either, by the way. It wasn't a very good one. Sorry, my camera's like, it's like sideways and I don't know why. But it wasn't even a good fake will, guys. It was a bad fake will. But nonetheless, he made this fake will. It's not the one that they professionally had put together and gave to their attorney, because they had that. So that's, how part of this stuff was found out, is they had a will already done up with their lawyers. Okay. This might be right up your alley, Casey, as a matter of fact. So a forgery, basically a fake will that would make him the director of their company and take over significant control of the company in the event of their death. Shocker, right? The motive was clearly clear here. Financial. He wanted what they had. They were millionaires. It wasn't just about control. He was a greedy MFer, right? He wanted everything they had, which is so sad because clearly these people loved him like a son. And I feel like if he needed something or even wanted something, they probably would have bent over backwards and gave it to him. But that's not good enough for him. Having good people in his life was not good enough. Hey, Jack, good enough for him. These lovely people here were targeted for their money, sadly. And over almost a decade, this man inserted himself into their lives. Sad. So Good Friday, right? April 7th, it was 2023. Luke DeWitt is at the Baxter's house. He prepares one of his signature healthcare drinks for a liver cleanse, is what he called it, that his alter ego, Dr. Andrea Bowden, has recommended. So, but this was not like the other drinks that he had given the couple before. This one was a little bit different. It had crushed up pills and extracted the active ingredient from fentanyl patches. Now, fentanyl is 10 times more potent than heroin, people. Okay? 10 times more potent than heroin. You only need a very small amount of fentanyl to kill someone, which is why people in addiction really need to get help, because everything now is laced with fentanyl and people are dying left, right, and sideways. So he decided to take out parts of fentanyl patches, which, as I read, was from his dad who had died. He had them from, that's how he had them. His dad had died and his dad was on these fentanyl patches. Now, back in addiction years, these fentanyl patches, people used to cut them open and eat the jelly out of them, essentially getting high by eating these fentanyl patches. Now, for someone like these wonderful people who clearly are not opioid users, putting fentanyl in their smoothies ultimately will kill them. So, he puts the active ingredient of fentanyl from these patches inside these poor people's. It is. I said it. It really what it is. It's just a really twisted, no pun included, tragedy. It is, but sorry, it's 50 times stronger than heroin. A lethal dose is little. Okay. So he laces their drinks with it. This is the sickest part. So Carol and Stephen Baxter, they trusted their friend, Luke DeWitt, completely. So, of course, they drank them, right? They drank them. Real sad. So it would basically put you to sleep is what would happen. Is it would put you to sleep and then you would die. So it wouldn't be painful, but it would still kill you. So nonetheless, they put them to sleep, and then their breathing slowly stopped, of course. They likely felt no pain. Not that that makes it any better, but they likely did not feel pain. It was a man, Luke DeWitt. They would just drift into sort of unconsciousness, from which, unfortunately, they would not return. But he gets worse. This man gets worse. He's more depraved than I originally thought as I delved into this case. It didn't end with administering the fentanyl, basically poisoning these people, okay, with smoothies. He wanted to watch them die. He had put hidden cameras aiming at the two chairs that they normally sat in. And he went home and he watched them pass away in those chairs. He came back when they were dead and he removed those cameras and cleaned up probably the cups that he had, given them this drink in, before ultimately their daughter found them both 2 days later. She could see them through the window as she stopped by. Both of them had blue hands, and of course she called the authorities. I mean, it's the ultimate act of control over a victim or victims. It's sick. 2 days they stayed in their house, passed away, and then it was Easter Sunday, April 9th, that their daughter Ellie arrived. And like I said, she saw them through the window. She saw that their hands were blue through the window, and she called the authorities at that point. And at first, so in the UK, so in the US, the emergency number is 911. In the UK, it's 999. So I'm reading the article, I'm like 99, and then I had to remember it was UK. So yeah, she called 999, which is the number for 911 in the UK. And then the killer himself showed up at the house because, well, of course, he's got to be part of this, right? In audio from the emergency call, I wrote this down. You can hear him calmly take the phone from hysterical Ellie. He identifies himself simply as a friend, and he coolly tells the operator what's happened, putting on a performance of a concerned witness. He even gathered up their medication to present to the paramedics to make it look like he was, quote, helping them. Shocker, right? Overly helpful. Yeah, got it. So to the first responders and police, there were no obvious signs of foul play or signs of a struggle or anything knocked over, no forced entry, things of that nature. So at first, he was just a witness. Just a witness. There was no carbon. They even checked for carbon monoxide at these people's houses, of course, because if you have two people who have passed away at the same time, around the same age, not old enough to just both pass away at once, you start to question, was there carbon monoxide? What was going on? So they checked for carbon monoxide, and that was quickly, obviously, ruled out. And it was tragic. It was tragic, baffling, and tragic. It could have been written off as some tragic coincidence of dying of a broken heart. One of them dies, the other one's heart gives out. That's what it could have. They could have chalked it up as. Or a double sort of medical episode. One person has a heart attack, the other person has a heart attack watching a heart attack. That's happened before, of course. And without the investigators and how hard they pushed, it might have been. It could have been. He might have gotten away with it. Luke DeWitt, that depraved psychopath, might have gotten away with it. The level of tragedy and deception in this case was amazing. It was hard for me to comprehend how somebody could be so depraved. But once again, these are the types of people we're dealing with when it comes to people who have it in them to hurt another human being. He didn't just fool these people. He created an entire false reality, an entire world of multiple characters and voices and websites and I mean, you have to, this is like a full-time job. 20 different people, including a lawyer and the doctor who was recommending all of these things that he was making her health worse. An entire false reality for them to live in. I mean, it's chilling. It's absolutely chilling because this could probably happen to any good-hearted, couple, bringing someone into their life who seems like a kind, nice, helpful person. I mean, that's really, I mean, it really makes me think of, I had a neighbor in my old apartment complex, and I helped take care of him because he was elderly, and we were kind of like the odd couple, right? He was in his late 50s when I met him, and I was in my mid 30s. But we're kind of like the odd couple. And his son moved to Arizona with his wife. I know the wife, so I had been tasked with making sure he took his meds and bringing his groceries upstairs, things that I would have that I already did. But once he fell and I couldn't get into the apartment, so I didn't because I didn't have an extra key at that point, and that's when they were like, "No, you need an extra key to get in there." Because he had 2 bad knees, 2 bad hips, heart condition, a diabetic, and so I could hear basically if he fell, I could hear it. If something hit the ground and smashed, I'd be able to run up and check and make sure it wasn't him falling. That maybe it was a cat knocking something over or whatever. Help him pay his bills online, things like that. I still help him do all that because he's like family now. He's literally like family now. And it makes me think, like, what if that family had trusted the wrong person? What if there was a Luke DeWitt helping my neighbor? Like, I, I don't even know. It just it like hit that personal level reading this case. Like, what if the wrong person had moved in underneath him and started draining his bank account or taking his belongings and selling them, or like just taking advantage? Like, what if that had happened? And ultimately, you know what I mean? Like, it just hits close to home where you're like, Jesus, there are shady characters everywhere. Like, lucky enough, that didn't happen and we moved in. My husband would, shovel out his car in the wintertime and make sure everything was clear so that he didn't fall because he had a cane. And I still check on him weekly and he checks in with me. And he only lives down the street, thank God. But he doesn't have a ton of family and he only has one son of which lives out of state. So it's nice to know that I have him, nearby in case he needs something. But it definitely hits close to home. These wonderful people, basically let this guy into their family. And he spent years plotting their death. And on top of it, he spent years figuring out how he was going to off them, create an entire fake, deceptive life online for people who understood Carol so that she felt like she was understood and that people were doing the same things that she was doing to trick her into taking these health smoothies for her disease, that it would help her in some way. I mean, what in the hell? So initially, obviously, he was treated as a witness. He was just a helpful friend, they thought. He was just a helpful friend, right? But once the cops from the Essex police started digging a little, okay, it clearly took a really weird turn at that point. The first major breakthrough of it came from the postmortem examinations of the body, okay? It says here that the toxicology reports revealed that both Carol and Stephen had died from lethal doses of fentanyl. And obviously that's no accident, it's murder. And so, of course, the investigation at that point intensifies. It intensifies a lot, zeroing in on the people closest to Stephen and Carol Baxter, trying to figure out who would want to harm them, who would do this to this lovely couple, right? It says all the roads led back to Luke DeWitt. Okay. His behavior was odd. His stories didn't add up. And then came the bombshells for the police. First, the fake will I told you guys about earlier. The day after they found the Baxters, a new will magically appeared. Magically appeared. Created. Where was it created, folks? On Luke DeWitt's own phone. created on his own phone. Sorry, I'm trying to. Oh, thank you, Jack. I appreciate you, my friend. I love the super sticker. Thank you. Thank you. Ooh, I'm going to look into that one, Casey. Exactly. It is everything. You want to make sure you're a trustworthy person, especially for elderly people, you know? They need, if they need help, like it's your responsibility if you're going to offer to help to make sure that they're okay, you know? And these people, it breaks my heart because they were only 61 and 64 years old. They were worth a lot of money, and I think that's what this guy saw, you know? But so about the will. Basically, the fake will, and this is how the solicitor described it. I wrote it down. So it says the document, which a solicitor later described in court as, quote, very odd, named DeWitt as a director of their company. Strange. Again, the company was called Splash, giving him a significant amount of control over the company. All right. It was a really clumsy will and a desperate attempt at that point to secure financial gain, because that's ultimately what this guy wanted, was financial gain from these people. It's unfortunate. So the digital investigation that they took was even more damning. Even more damning. Okay. Police seized, it says 80 electronic devices, 80, not 8, 80, folks, 80. 80 electronic devices from DeWitt's possession. On them, they uncovered the entire universe of his deception. They found every message from Dr. Andrea Bowden, the fake doctor that he made up, right? The entire fake doctor. Every single stinking message from the fake doctor. So then they found every interaction with the fake support group that he created for Carol. Every one of his 20 fake personas they found. It traced back to a device that he had and that he controlled. So this, you guys are going to be like, what? At first, he actually tried to claim that the husband here told him to. Basically, he did it to make Carol feel supported with her medical. But that was quickly debunked by messages from the personas or things from these fake accounts, basically duping the husband as well. So that was easily, proved to be wrong and false and a lie by Luke, but he just couldn't help himself, guys. The guy was just as much manipulated as his wife was, sadly. Sadly. Yeah, he said that they created it to give Carol, quote, someone to talk to. Like, what in the hell? He was an IT guy. He ultimately got the job, Jack, with the family at their business as an IT guy to work on their website. Can make pretty good money in IT. So you got to be semi-smart to be able to run tech. But, it is what it is. So then came the final and irrefutable piece of evidence in this case, the hidden camera, the damn hidden camera. The cops found it, and they saw the footage of him setting it up the day before the murders. And then they saw him looking at his phone outside the house on the day of the murders, clearly checking to see if they were dead or not, or dying or not. A detail was captured by the home's doorbell camera. That detail was him on the phone, looking at his phone, looking at the hidden camera outside of the house. The prosecutor, it says in the case, posed a chilling question to the jury. Was he watching them die? Well, of course, the answer to that would be yeah, he clearly was watching them pass away. He had even taken pictures of their remains after they passed, which is really sad. I mean, why would you be taking pictures of people who have passed on in their house? I mean, that's weird and strange. Sick. He returned to the house after they had died, but before the daughter found him, likely to retrieve the camera and clean up evidence like the cups that he used to give them the smoothies. So it says the search of his home and belongings revealed a treasure trove of his toolkit, more fentanyl patches, both unopened and opened pills containing quadruple the normal dose of promethazine. So promethazine is something that I have been prescribed to in my life once, and it can make you very like wonky, very drowsy, tired. A lot of people mix it with things to get high. I don't know exactly what they mix it with, but it was like a thing way back in the day. And so he clearly knew these things would mess them up and kill them. So they found that, and then they also found a pestle and a mortar, which is the bowl, and then the thing you use to smash the pills or, mix whatever he was mixing, sedatives. They found more sedatives, and then it says, and the bag of metal tacks. So they found the metal tacks that he was putting in those pills, the pill capsules that he was giving to Carol. So they found the bag of tacks, which then tied him to her going to the hospital for those stomach pains and the tacks being in her stomach. Sadly. So in March 2024, so last year, after a 6-week trial in this case, the jury unanimously found him guilty of 2 counts of murder. He sat in a wheelchair in the courtroom, a friggin' wheelchair. Now, mind you, he's not elderly. I think this was his last ditch effort to try to fool people, make him seem like he was, sick or something, frail. He wasn't. And they note that here. And I write it in my notes. It's a final sort of failed attempt at manipulating people. He showed no emotion as the verdict was read. The judge, Mr. Justice Lavender, sentenced him to life in prison with a minimum term of 37 years. He called the crime cruel and senseless and stated that it was distinctly possible that what really motivated you was a desire to control others. Deciding whether another person lives or dies is the ultimate form of control. Detectives who worked the case described DeWitt as one of the most dangerous and devious men they had ever encountered. A cool, calculated killer who would have undoubtedly killed again had he not been caught. In the wake of his conviction, police have even reopened investigations into the deaths of DeWitt's own father and grandfather, whose deaths are now being re-examined under a new suspicious light, it says. The story of... So that's what they call this story, the Essex Millionaire Murders. I call it the really tragic tale of Stephen and Carol Baxter because they had names. They weren't just Essex millionaire murder victims. They were people, and they had lives, and they had loved ones, and they loved life. For all accounts, these people were generous and kind and loving, and they didn't deserve what happened to them. Their loved ones didn't deserve to have to go through this, and all because they trusted someone for many, many years. I mean, remember, he entered into this family in 2014. He was convicted in 2024, and the murders happened in 2023. So, I mean, this is just a sad case. So I know that they call it the Essex Millionaire Murders, but again, I call it the tragic case of Stephen and Carol Baxter, who deserved better than that psychopath that tried to interject into their lives because they had money. Really, really sad. It says that the last bit of my notes says that they opened their home to him and their hearts to a young man they treated like family. In return, he spent years torturing them, controlling them, and ultimately stealing their lives for his own sick satisfaction and financial greed. It's a chilling reminder, guys, that sometimes there are the wrong people. Don't trust the wrong damn people. And sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones that we invite inside our homes and we don't even know it. And that's the sick, sad part is you don't even know it. He was able to hide that sort of bit of him, that depraved psycho of him enough that these people didn't catch on to it. I mean, that's unfathomable. I mean, which part do you think is the most disturbing of this case? Because honestly, I think the part that disturbed me the most was that he actually opened up pills and put tacks inside of them. and that he put those cameras in the house to watch them pass. I mean, what the hell? Years of gaslighting, 20 fake personas, fake websites, fake lawyers, doctors, support groups. I mean, you got to spend a whole lot of time doing all that. And for what? To go to jail for murder for life? I mean, there's clearly something in these sick, depraved people's minds that sort of chip in their brain just doesn't work. That sort of empathy or sympathy, or that thing where you're not able to harm other people because humans don't hurt other humans. We should be helping, not hurting. They just don't have it. They just don't have it. And I told you guys, one of the ones that really gets me the most is the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez. There was that one, that one interview with him that I think shook me to my core forever about what he said about himself. And let me see if I can find it, because it's just, it was way back when, of course, but still crazy stuff. So this is the guy here. Hold on. This is the guy. This is Luke DeWitt. Yeah, I agree with you. It definitely keeps the publicity out of it, which helps the jury to be able to convict these people with the evidence and not the noise. And that's exactly it, Jack. That's exactly it. They did create an entire alternate reality. It's just crazy to me. But this is the depraved individual. I'm not going to give him a lot of airtime because he doesn't deserve it. The victims do. These people do. They deserve it. But that is what a depraved psychopath looks like, if you would like to see. I am going to find, give me 1 second. Let's see if I can find it. Is this it? I mean, sick, depraved. Like, hold on. How long is this? 5 minutes long? Just if you've never heard of this case, it's something really old, but there are quite a few different things on Richard Ramirez. It's a really, like I said, sick case, but some of the stuff he said, it's one of those things that you're just like, if they hadn't got him when they did, what would have happened? What would have happened?
In 1984, Los Angeles was under siege. Death waited in the dark at the hands of a man they called the Night Stalker. After a 14-month reign of terror, he was finally caught. It was only then that his true identity was discovered. His name, Richard Ramirez.
Richard Ramirez's whole trip was to hide in a tree or hide behind a fence and watch his victims at nighttime and wait into the wee hours of the night. And then while they slept, creep in, like a coward and kill them.
The Night Stalker killed at least 13 times, 13 people who were awakened in the night to face death. At least 15 others survived his brutal attacks.
I didn't particularly care for people.
In a rare interview, Ramirez refused to discuss his own crimes, but had this to say about serial killers.
Creepy.
A serial killer comes about by circumstances and like a recipe: poverty, drugs, child abuse. These things, contribute to a person, to a person's frustration and anger.
Frustration?
And
to kill, my friend?
At some point in life, he explodes.
Perhaps for Richard Ramirez, that anger and frustration turned to rage, which he in turn took out on his victims. His killings were so sadistic and brutal that even experienced detectives were shocked.
He took a woman in her 60s and stomped her to death with his foot, leaving an imprint of a shoe on the side of her face. From from that
Sick.
to just
Man was sick,
executing
very, very
somebody
sick.
upon walking into a room after he entered a house. He strangled, he used a ligature, he used a tire iron on a young girl, beat her, left her for dead.
Would your anger subside if you had to wipe up your mother's blood? I couldn't finish it. I had to leave my brother to finish that chore.
Why on earth would you have hurt those people? Why did you kill those people?
Look at him. Like, what?
No comments. No comments.
Comment.
I cannot answer that at this time.
What was Richard's motive?
To kill.
That it?
To kill.
Pretty much.
It's as simple as that.
Richard Ramirez was raised in El Paso, Texas, the youngest of 5 children born to hardworking, strict parents. Eddie Milam was Richard's best friend back then and remembers when he began to change into a troublemaker.
I did start seeing something going wrong with Ricky Ramirez. I think what really messed him up was the acid. He would do a lot of acid. The stealing.
I don't think that's
I noticed the stealing and then started as a pee-pee and Tom and things like that.
Ramirez's passion for burglary earned him the nicknames of Ricky the Thief and Fingers. But Eddie knew Ramirez had other serious problems when he was fired from a local hotel.
He said he was fired. He was dismissed due to the cause that he had tried to molest 2 little kids that were going up the elevator.
By 18, Ramirez was a high school dropout, drifting around California. He stayed in Skid Row hotels, never seemed to work, but always had the money to buy cocaine. Friends say the Richard Ramirez they knew didn't date and wasn't the type to commit such heinous crimes. But convicted murderer Martin Kipp, who befriended Ramirez in prison, says he heard another side of the Night Stalker.
Richard told me he needed to associate gruesome violence with sex in order to be completely satisfied. He also told me that he had to violently fantasize about his victims before he could go away sexually gratified.
They are desires, whereas if I didn't give in to them, I would be crushed by them. I believe in the evil in human nature. This is a wicked world, and in a wicked world, wicked people are born. I'm not going to blame society, my race, or people, or anything. It is up to the individual like myself to keep on knocking on whatever door they want to get into.
Because the victims and the methods of killing were so diverse, many experts felt there was no one Night Stalker. Detectives Carrillo and Salerno disagreed and finally broke the case by matching shoe prints. The subsequent trial turned into one of America's most notorious courtroom dramas, punctuated by continual outbursts from Ramirez. In that trial, Ramirez's fascination with Satanism emerged.
As far as Satan is concerned, I believe in a malevolent being.
Yeah, you're a malevolent.
His description eludes me, but I have felt powers that are evil.
After an 8-month trial, Ramirez was convicted of all 13 murders and given multiple death sentences.
I don't care about myself, really. I don't care about what happens to me. I never did, really.
He died June 2013 of complications secondary to B-cell carcinoma, I believe. I can't see what it says, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was carcinoma. But there was one, I can't see where. It might be this one. There's one where he literally says, like, I'm an evil person.
Things contribute to a person's frustration and anger. At some point in life, he explodes.
Why on earth would you have hurt those people? Why did you kill those people?
No comments. They are desires, whereas I'm not going to blame society, my race, or people, or anything. It is up to the individual like myself to keep on knocking on whatever.
Sorry, I literally just was. What happened? God damn it. We buffered for a second. I apologize. This is, I can't find it specifically, but there is one where he literally says, you know, I would kill again if I wasn't not put away. I would do it again. And to me, it's like, how do we get to that? Let's see if it does it this way.
Believe me,
Some of these
if I
people.
started murdering people, there'd be none of you left.
Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today, we're taking a look at 10 disturbing interviews with...
I mean, how sick do you have to be to say some shit like that? Just in general, you're already in jail, you're already locked up, you've killed countless people. And this is, I mean, this right here, these are the people that people like Bryan Kohberger idolize. I mean, this is sick shit.
Killers.
You admit to being evil, Richard?
We are all evil in some form or another.
For this list, we're looking at instances where accused murder...
Like, what in the actual hell? Let me see if I can skip to the actual bit of it instead of the clips. John Wayne Gacy. He's one of the ones that really, it blows my mind that he was allowed to get away with.
John Wayne Gacy. The Netflix documentary, The John Wayne Gacy Tapes, did a lot to point out the notorious serial killer's sociopathic tendencies when it came to shifting blame for his accused crimes.
Shoelaces, huh? You're in trouble now.
Yeah, right.
Aren't you afraid sitting that close to me?
This wasn't the first time evidence to that end has come out, however, as documented by this piece from CBS News 2 Chicago back in 1992.
I don't believe in hitting children. I don't believe in
lies,
spoiling a child either. My values are such that if you give enough love to a child,
accused of murdering 33 kids, and you say you didn't
33. Like, what in the actual hell?
Believe in hitting.
Interviewer Walter Jacobson doesn't need to do much talking in his encounter with Gacy, as it quickly...
I can't stop him. There's nothing I can do.
Fast forward to the night before his execution, and we see a fearful and pensive Ted Bundy, a man seeking to shift blame for his crimes during his interview with Christian conservative evangelist James Dobson.
There are forces at loose in this country, particularly, again, this kind of violent pornography.
Number 8, Richard Ramirez.
Well, let's remember that he blamed violent pornography. I mean, some of these people are just sick. The point being is that how do we get to this? How do we get to doing these types of things, like backing up into your boyfriend at 24 miles an hour and then blaming an entire, thing of witnesses, or walking into a college rented house and stabbing 4 beautiful young people? I mean, where does it all go wrong is the question. Where? Is it you're born that way? Is it something that changes your chemical makeup in your brain? What is it exactly? Because to me, that's part of the fascination of true crime, is why? Why? Maybe if we could figure out why, then we could stop it. If it has to do with a chemical imbalance, or at least, certain things we should be looking out for and getting these people out of society. Some of these people are the most deplorable human beings on earth, including Richard Ramirez and John Wayne Gacy, Ted Bundy. And then, I've heard there's been studies on brain chemistry and things of that nature. Let's see. There's one thing that I read specifically. that says something about brain chemistry. So it says that serial killers may have commonalities in brain structure and chemistry. For example, a malfunctioning amygdala, which regulates emotions and aggression. And so that may be that they're involved in violent behavior. Recent research has also found that killers have decreased connections between that part of your brain and the frontal cortex, impairing their ability to socialize. I mean, that's some seriously concerning shit, right? We know that there haven't been that many female serial killers, right? We know of a few, and a lot of us, right? Yeah, well, that exactly. And that's why when I hear them say something like that, like it's abuse, it's anger, it's blah, 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 it's like, no. A lot of us have suffered that and then some, and not only made it out the other side, but made it out the other side to the point where we're able to help other people heal from that kind of trauma and pain and constant feeling of sadness and pain. And if I can, if you can, then we all can. And so this excuse that some of these killers use, they were depressed or they were, it doesn't have to be. I mean, I think it's got to be we've always had the debate, right? Nature versus nurture. Is it one? Is it the other? I mean, I don't know. I believe that, especially nature versus nurture. I grew up two very different ways. My mother was poor and lived in the projects. My grandparents were upper middle class. I lived with both of them. I also was in foster care as a kid. So, is it nature versus nurture? Is it brain chemistry? Why do some of us make it through some really horrific, awful things, and some of us end up like these lunatics? Amygdala. Yeah, see, I'm like, I've never seen that word. Obviously, frontal cortex. I am not Dr. Isaac Wolf with the brain surgeon. So, excuse me if I fumbled it, guys. I attempted it. I attempted it. I did attempt it. But I think it's got to be both and then more, right? I did read some studies on brain chemistry when it comes to serial killers, but it's not just serial killers. What about regular people that do things like what we're seeing with Karen? She, in a rage, backed up and hit John at 24 miles an hour, in my opinion. And in a lot of other people's opinion, she just got away with murder. So what makes a human brain do that? And what I see with a lot of these people that they have in common is serious control issues. They have very serious control issues. They use a lot of manipulation. And I see sort of cluster B personality, narcissistic, borderline personality disorders in some of these people. And that's scary. That's scary AF, because that could be anyone. They could present themselves as semi-normal and then boom, right? Girl, listen, you can't do that because we need you. And so you're not allowed to do that. But what you are allowed to do is you're totally allowed to call me on the phone and scream and cry and laugh and all sorts of stuff. To me, common, I mean, I don't know about common, but I will say here in New England, I think that the authorities have been ignoring what might be a serial killer situation. We might have that situation here. We most certainly, at the very least, have something very sketchy going on here. We have multiple bodies being found across 3 states in New England, including mine, and no answer as to why all these bodies are being found like this and in short order. So what the hell is going on? what in the hell is actually going on? And, a lot of people have contemplated, is there a New England serial killer? It's a very real possibility. Yes, lots of psychopathic behaviors. That's sort of what at least brings them together in a way. But how do you stop that is the question. How do you get to a point where you can take that sort of evil out of society so that it doesn't harm other people? How do we do that? Where is the way that we can, make sure people are safe? And I just don't think, obviously, that exists yet. Serial killers are different. They have different characteristics, which is why I say just killers in general are a little bit different than what I see with some serial killers. But to me, nonetheless, it's still like we're dealing with crazed lunatics here, folks. Lunatics, people who don't care about human life or what's going to happen to them. They don't even think far enough ahead to say, if I do this and I get caught, I will go to jail for life. In their mind, they are never going to get caught. Why would they get caught? They're smarter than everyone else. They're never going to get caught, right? They're going to get away with it. Sorry. It's just crazy to me. It's crazy to me. I think they have done quite a few studies on social media. Like Lisa says, social media definitely plays its part. And, we went over this the other day where social media itself can be a really good tool to helping victims, to helping families, to helping cases, but it also can be something really bad, as we've seen. And it's sad to say, but do you guys remember, like, when we were getting closer to the end of Karen's case, and I said, these people are going to quickly, no matter what the verdict is, quickly jump off of Karen's case and jump onto another one they think they can bring another innocence fraud campaign to. And two cases that I pointed out that I thought they would do that with were Sandra Birchmore's case and the case of Xana Carnoodle, Ethan Chapin, Maddie Mogan, and Kaylee Goncalves. And the sad part about it is they did exactly that. Some of them popped right over to Sandra Birchmore. Some of them popped right over here to the Idaho 4. And I will not let them do what they did in Karen's case to the families of those 4 beautiful young people. I will not. They are not going to bring their innocence fraud campaign there to Idaho. They're not. They don't seem to care who they hurt as long as it's a click or a view for them. And as soon as I saw that they were immediately moving over to that realm, and they're all the conspiracy theorists that keep bringing these conspiracies to cases, I said, oh, shit, dude. If we don't warn people to watch out for some of these opportunists, then we're going to be dealing with another one of these crazed lunatics and their psychotic friend. And shame on the law tubers that engage in this shit. Shame on them. These are people's loved ones, and these victims have families, people that love them, people that care about them. And you only care about the 30 grand a month or more that you make on your YouTube channel. So you take the opportunity to jump onto that case or those cases and spew your venom. Because all the same people that were Karen is innocent people are the same people who are saying Richard Allen from Delphi and Bryan Kohberger are innocent. Take your dumb audiences, if you are a law tuber, grifting off cases like the Idaho 4, who are people, okay? People's loved ones, young people who had an entire life ahead of them. And by all accounts, pretty wonderful kids. Over there so that you can create another conspiracy theory and harm another family, I will not let you do it. I will not let you do it. Let's hope so, Jack. Let's hope, because they've already started to pivot, and I can see it just the same way they did it here. And it's concerning, you know? Well, he's got to go somewhere, Jack. He's not a true crime channel, but he's running out of content. He can't, if you're not a true crime channel, how do you jump onto another case? Most true crime channels just move on to another case, right? I can't. Yeah, I can't, Joy. You know, obviously we're going to still cover like the civil aspect of it, and the stuff with the turtle, the sewer turtle. We'll cover, you know, that stuff because it's important to see justice when it comes to his criminal behavior as well. But I will not let them do to Idaho and those 4 beautiful kids that passed away in such a horrific way, what was done in this case. I will not allow the innocence fraud to bring themselves to that case. And I already see them pivoting to it. And it's gross. You know, if this was only about money, my channel would have been gone long ago. Would have been gone long ago. You know? Oh, yes. Joy was like to thank Tracy for her gifted membership. Tracy gifted some memberships the other day, and I said, it was you, Joy, and someone else. A couple other people got them, and I was so excited that they went to you guys. I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited, because I love to see it going to people that are here all the time and engaging. It makes my heart happy. So I'm super excited that you guys got those. But yes, Tracy, Joy says thank you. She appreciates it so much. You know, that's a great point, DJ. I would also love to know how. Like, why? Take your innocence fraud somewhere else. I mean, how can they argue that you had an unfair trial when you just let off? I mean, it's just absurd. I can't stand by. I'm not one of those people that can just stand by and allow people to get hurt or these innocence fraud campaigns to continue on. I'm not one of those people. I am just not. But we are buffering. I have to fix it. It can't be the heat. It's like raining today, so I don't know why, but it was buffering. Also, okay, hold on. I have one dono to read. Our first one of the stream that wasn't from Jack. Jack sends 3333. He says he has a little bit for me because he won some the other day. Thank you, Jack. I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so much. I mean, I rely on the kindness of all of you to keep our show rolling, and I understand it's going to be slow going since we've started moving on from Karen's case, but you know, there's nothing to cover there anymore until the civil and until, you know, his stuff. And you want to sort of try to help in any other cases that you can. It's truly sad, but I also I refuse to give the bad actors in that case any more of my time because they have taken so much from so many already. And now they're pivoting to do it in other cases. You know, it's really, really sad. I can't. I appreciate you, Joy. I'm hoping lots of you will keep your memberships when the gift period ends. So we can keep rolling on. But I know that since we've started covering other things, it's definitely going to be slow going. It's not going to be the same level and the same excitement as people had when it came to trying to get justice for John. But we have to remember that there are other cases that need our help. And I see the grifters already moving. You know, we already moved on, and here they come moving right on to what they think will be their next conspiracy theory. And it makes me mad for the victims' families. They shouldn't have to deal with it. You know, covering true crime, you have to have a little bit of a level of some sort of understanding that these are people's loved ones. These were real lives, and there is real pain involved. And it isn't something that you can just cover and be nonchalant and not care, because that's callous. And what I'm seeing is a lot of these law tubers, as we've seen over, I mean, how many people have all of you guys unfollowed from this? Like, how many? I'm guessing a lot. I've heard from a lot of you that you unfollowed quite a bit of these law tubers. And it makes me sad, because I do think people need to be educated on how cases work, how laws work. Oh, I forgot about that one. Is that in trial yet? Let's see. Let's see. It's the Bachelor guy, right? Clayton Edward. Etchard. She was indicted on several felony charges in Arizona, concocting an alleged paternity scheme, falsely accusing former star The Bachelor of getting her pregnant with twins. Okie dokie. Very sweet monarch. Fabio? Monica, Synergy impact statement. I did not. Oh, he was crying? You know, here's the thing, Allie, is they don't have a case to grift off of anymore. So they are going to see their donos drop unless they start covering what that audience wants to see. And because they built an audience of people who only want to hear what they want to hear, they're going to have a hard time, you know, sustaining what they were making if they don't keep talking about a case that's over, which is sad, because that's what they're going to have to keep doing, is keep talking about a case that's over. This is why I don't want that kind of audience, you know? I want an audience that can move to the next thing with me and be okay with it, and also understand that we're, especially ones that we're close to in the way that we were with John's, is that we're never going to stop. And with his case, there's some advocacy stuff we're working on. And so that's not over, right? And at some point we're going to need everyone's help for that. But you know, you gotta push on to the next thing. And if the only thing you can do is cover one case, but you can't keep an audience after that one case, kind of a problem, no? Kind of a problem. I enjoy my live streams, and I've thought of the idea of doing long form videos, but I enjoy my live streams for a multitude of reasons. One, because I like doing trials live, where we can watch the trial together live. I love that. I also love all of you, and I love being able to interact with my audience. It's one of the most important things to me as a creator. And I understand why most creators don't. I understand the tactics that they use, where it's, you know, only answering questions from people who give super chats or donations, or only highlighting their comments. And yes, I lose money because I don't do that. But everybody's comments are important, whether they donate or not. It's not required here. It's not required to be a part of this community. Some people just can't afford it. And so you guys have so many important, smart life experience and intelligent things that maybe I don't know about, but some of you are really good at, or that's your career. And if you ignore your audience and how many really intelligent, smart people there are there, then you're missing out, in my opinion. You're missing out on a way to build a really strong community. You're missing out on some wonderful friendships. You're missing out on some really smart and cultured people. And I also don't do what other creators do, which is I don't not allow people on to co-host or guest with me if they have, you know, this amount. They have to have, you know, 10,000 or more subscribers, because I need them to bring me subscribers. That's the whole thing, is people don't want to mix and mingle with channels that don't have around the same amount of subscribers as them. And I've never subscribed to that. I don't care if you have a million or one or none. You're welcome here as long as it's going to be a non-trolling conversation. So to me, if one day this channel somehow blows up and gets big, I hope that I can give a helping hand out to smaller channels with only a couple thousand subs and give them the boost that they need to succeed. The fact that people don't do that, it's pure just greed is what it's about. And there's nothing worse that irks me more than greed. I just can't, you know, it is crazy, Jack. And as we've seen living here, it's even worse, you know. Listen, you know, you can always call me. I don't care what time of day or night it is. You can always call me if you're feeling like that. It is like entering the opposite world, DJ. Ooh. Could you get together like a list of documents that I probably need to go over, or like, is there like anything that exists like word wise of the documents in that case? It was like, and it is like entering the upside down, you know? Well, and they'll keep being with that, you know? Oh, the Dateline. Yep. It's just sad. Some people will just comment and then never read the replies. There's actually a lady who keeps commenting on my channel, not realizing that she's blocked and banned. So the only person who can see that she's commenting is her. And I get the like alert that she commented, but I don't see the comment because the channel doesn't allow it. So she writes it, it posts, and she can see, like, it says it's posted, but she's blocked and banned from posting anything on my channel. So YouTube automatically stops it. And so she doesn't seem to realize that she has been blocked and banned from trolling. And it's funny because if you look at the accounts that she follows or subscribes to, it tells you everything you need to know about why she came. She didn't come here to check facts or anything like that. She just came here to singly to troll. And so I say to someone like her, like, lady, you're literally blocked and banned from being able to write anything on my channel. You're wasting your time. Nobody can see it but you. So you might want to move on there, lady. Like you might want to just move on a little bit. Her let's see, what's her little thing here? Mimi Cool Whip 5991. Hit Mimi Cool Whip 5991. I'm sorry, honey, but you can still keep commenting all you want, but nobody can see them. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your finger push-ups trolling doll because you're the only one who can see them. YouTube automatically. It's really sad, you know? Well, I think they want to be a part of something. They want to be a part of something. They don't seem to realize there are other things to be a part of that are not unhealthy, vile, disgusting things. They don't seem to yet realize that, you know? That's one thing that I really felt like, Jezebel, that you're insulting people's intelligence with that shit. Literally, you're insulting people's intelligence. A lot of the law tubers too. Insulting people's intelligence by saying some of the things that they were saying. I'm like, is this real life? Anyone who's at work as a paralegal or in the court system or in the criminal justice system knows that half the shit they were saying is not only true, but they know it's not true. So in that way, you're insulting anyone who knows better. And then you're also insulting the intelligence of other people to actually look and see if what you're saying could be true in any way, shape, or form. Because of course it's not. So, you know. Yeah, that's definitely not a fair trial for sure, you know? Well, that's the other thing. Jurors usually quietly go away too. You know? They usually quietly go away. We have one that clearly needs that attention. That woman is clearly mentally not well. There is a family that's hurting and you and children that can see what you're saying, and yet you still run your mouth. You know? Still run your mouth. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, Anna. Oh, I can't with him. I literally can't. I'm surprised you haven't been booted from that chat yet. From being anti. A lot of people have said things in some of these channels that are like, hey, I think she's guilty, and instantly, they got a boot. I've asked myself that as well, Monarch. How can so many people be so blind? But if you look up how cults are manufactured, the gaslighting is the biggest problem. That they're gaslit. They're gaslit into believing that, well, some of these people are attorneys, so they must know better than me. And that's part of the problem is a lot of these people are, quote, attorneys, but most of them have never stepped foot in the criminal realm a day in their lives and have no idea what they're talking about. The others of them don't even practice law anymore. They just don't disclose that. And when they did practice, they weren't very good at it. And the ones that do practice, I don't know how they have time to practice any type of law or do anything. If you were actually like doing work, and I don't understand. I don't understand. Some of these ambulance chase types are like, why don't you go chase those ambulances and leave the education up to people who actually know what the F they're talking about, instead of gaslighting people into thinking that you know better because you're a, quote, lawyer. And everybody should learn from the intelligence of juror number 11 that claiming you're a lawyer does not make you smarter than anyone, especially when it comes to that. Or juror number 11 was a attorney in Brazil. Well, 4 years in college gets you to be an attorney in Brazil. It's the equivalent of a bachelor's here. You have to do that before you're even allowed in law school here in the States. Not the same, not by a long shot. And they have a real issue with having competent attorneys in Brazil. Gee, I wonder why. Super high intelligence. Super high, you know what I mean? That's another thing. To pretend something is true when it isn't true is something that we've watched them do, right? Stick their fingers in their ears. They can't explain away the data. None of them can answer, why did Karen put that car into reverse at 24 miles an hour? Why? Why would she? I love the ones that argue she didn't. It's right in the data. Not even she saying she didn't. Of course she did. It's in the data. She backed that car up at 24. Why would she back the car up at 24 miles an hour? Thank you. That would be perfect. I love it. Be organized. When you get a chance, Joy, go back to the beginning of this stream. I actually covered a case from the UK that I guess most people hadn't heard of Carol and Stephen Baxter, and it was a pretty twisted, effed up tragedy. They were well-off people, and I just did that whole case earlier in the stream, and it was pretty shocking. I took a lot of time to sort of go through a lot of anything I could find on the case itself, and it was one of those cases that, like, you're looking through other cases and going over other, some take longer. So some of those cases I have sort of in my notebook, but on the back burner until I can finish getting all of the information and source stuff that I need. Other ones like this one were easy to find most of the information I needed to do it and quick. So I do have other ones that you guys suggested on that I'm working on. But it's nuts to me. Yeah, that was Lindsay Clancy. That one is going to be difficult. Lindsay Clancy. That one happened in Duxbury here. And that one and the Walsh case are ones that are coming up here in Mass. And I think the Lindsay Clancy case is one that a lot of people will have a hard time watching just because it does involve children. I was saying that the other day that it involves children. And that's the hard part of watching a case like that, is there might be details in there that no person wants to know about or hear about. I can't either. It's insane to me. They have the data, That's true. That's true. Oh, absolutely. 100% agree with you, Allie. I agree with you. They are just as bad. You want to know why? It's a lot of crossover of the same people. Probably, I'm guessing. I feel like that's a different type of thing, though, where the innocence fraud that we've seen with some of these cases is not the same with the Luigi stuff. That one is more of, we know he did it, but we agree with why he did it. And I think that's where the argument is with that case. It's not more of like, he didn't do it, he's innocent. These people are actively saying, we know he did it, but we don't disagree because that company killed millions of people. Well, the CEO himself didn't go around killing people, so nobody deserves to just be shot in the street like an animal. I mean, murder is murder, people. I get it. The company's sleazy. You know, they deny coverage, people die. That needs to be fixed as all of us standing together and marching up to our Capitol and demanding change, and that we will not go to our houses and we will not work, and we will shut down this economy until they do their jobs and do XYZ to fix that. But killing the CEO changes nothing. They just replace another CEO who is then going to do the same things that that man did in his job position. And so what does killing someone do exactly? Doesn't change the healthcare industry in the shady way that it works. Murder is not the answer, people. You know, it's not the answer. Yes, and I admire no, Sybil, as far as what I found on her, it's not even, she wasn't even a criminal attorney. She was a civil attorney. Funny, huh? There is actually a pretty large group of them, which is shocking to me. Yeah. Let's hope not. You know? Let's hope not. That drives me nuts. To anybody to criticize Hank, I'm sorry, but just not okay. Oh, yeah, but you're moving and stuff. That's like a whole different thing. I'm talking about these, like, to run a show isn't just pressing the button and being here. I could listen to a show and comment on a show and still be working. You know what I mean? Like, you could also, paralegals do a lot of the stuff you need them to do. But, like, running a show itself, you don't just push the button and go. When you push that button and you stop running and you stop streaming or doing your long form videos, you're still doing research. You're still, you know, talking to sources, getting information, checking emails, doing deep dives. Like, there's a whole realm of things that need to be done to run a show. It is a full-time job. So, I mean, how are you doing that and being a lawyer? Make it make sense. They can't, right? We know you're good at your job, but any one of you can be here. Because I have a ton of people who listen to me from work. They might comment here or there, but they listen to me in their headphones from work, you know? And girl, I don't blame you. After losing a kid, my littlest is my rainbow baby, and it is a difficult road to get down. And you are one strong lady, that's for sure. You are one strong lady. You know, losing a child you should never lose your children. You're supposed to go before your children go. And anybody who has lost one knows that type of pain is something that never, ever goes away. And it's just a different kind of pain. And I look at my little and I remember that her sister up there looking down on us. And I pray every day that, you know, my oldest just makes it another day, another year, another 2 years, another 5 years with her disease. And that's the best I can hope for, is to keep making memories with my children. And you have those. I would rather spend money on making a memory than buy them just stuff. I'd rather spend money on taking them camping or away for the weekend than just stuff, you know, because that memory is what lasts. I remember as a kid going to my grandparents' summer cottage. Those memories I will have forever. And they're some of the best memories I have as a kid. You know, hey, Benny. I mean, it depends. There's a big crossover between some of those people. They're same as the Delphi people. And I am just a huge fan of the amazing advocacy that the families have done in the Idaho case. I think they've done an amazing job advocating for their children and the other families for that matter. And, you know, I've been doing volunteer advocacy work for almost 2 decades, and it's not easy work. I still do it. You know, when I'm not here with you guys, I'm either doing something for the show or helping someone else. And I don't get paid for that. That's something I do free. And I remember people saying, like, why don't you try to get a government contract? Or, you know, you got to get paid for what you do. You're really good at what you do, and you need to get paid. And my answer is always the same, which is the people that I help can't afford to pay someone. So unless insurance is magically going to cover it for them, which they're not going to cover, they're not going to cover somebody advocating for you, because most of the time it's advocating against government entities or other things that are screwing you. So they're not going to pay for that. So people can't afford it. They cannot afford it. And I think they have done such an amazing job of advocacy. And, you know, Steve is the dad of Kaylee. And he's done what I would have done, which is hire a private investigator, keep diving into the information myself, because the police are not going to tell you everything. They can't, right? They have to hide it. It's in an investigation, blah, 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 whatever. And I will move mountains to find out if it was my child. I don't care how many mountains I have to move, but I will move every last one of them to find out for sure. You know? Let's hope not, because I've seen them pivot. A lot of that's those same channels that helped bring this injustice to the O'Keefe family and to the Alberts and to the McCabe's and everyone else that advocated for them and stuck up for them. I've seen those people starting to move towards the Idaho 4 case. And I'm not going to lie, scares me a little that they may latch on to that and try and harm that case with their innocence fraud bullshit. You know? And yes, they do, but they had more with Karen, at least that we know of. They had more than they do in the Kohberger case. And so when something feels like, hey, it's a slam dunk, look at the evidence that there is. Something like this happens and it shakes you to your core, you know? Yeah. I mean, it's different for every country, but right, those memories are what's going to stay with you forever of her, and you have so many amazing memories of your daughter. Sometimes that's what you got to do, you know? And at least people that I'm, you know, some of you that have my number know that I usually answer, you know? So believe me when I say I get it. And if you ever need me, I'll send you my number in an email now that I have your email. You can always just text me or call me, you know? You don't have to sit there and feel depressy and stressy by yourself. I'll laugh with you, cry with you, talk about something completely different if that's what you want, talk about something related if that's what you want. But no one should have to sort of run that path alone and feel that way alone, or feel like there isn't someone to relate to. Relating to someone when dealing with something traumatic is everything. It is everything. And I didn't have that way back then. And I wish I had, because it makes a world of difference. And so I try to give that to anybody that I can, because it would have made so much of a difference to me if that had existed way back when I was dealing with each one of the really horrific traumas that I dealt with, all the way from childhood to, you know, my mid-20s. And some things that no normal human should ever have to go through, or would even go through in their wildest dreams, I've dealt with. And I don't want anyone else to feel like they're alone or don't have a support system, because that's the most important thing. Not having family. I know what it's like to not have, you know, living family alive to lean on, someone to call to be like, hey, I need to borrow $20 because I need milk, or I need a ride to this. Like, I know what that's like. And sometimes you can have a ton of family, just everyone's busy, or you can have a ton of family, but nobody knows what you're going through. And so it's important to have someone, anyone who relates to whatever it is that you're dealing with, because it does make a difference in dealing with trauma. It does. Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. What do you think? That is a damn good question. I don't know. Yeah. I know that they changed some of what they were charging Diddy with, for instance. But I'm basically all it does is narrow down for the ones that they want to nail them on, I guess, you know? But I mean, now that we know that juries are really can be bought and paid for, it makes you question. Can he buy and pay for his jury? Is it already in the bag? I don't know. That's another thing that pisses me off, Liz. That's a real another thing that pisses me off is where the actual F was the mainstream media when they were being harassed into oblivion or when people were being called murderers. Now, and only now, after the case is over, now they want to focus in on the O'Keefes and the Alberts and the McCabe's. And in my opinion, you are all deplorable. Mainstream media specifically are all deplorable. Now you want to talk to them. Now you want to cover important things like what they went through and how harassed they have been. I mean, you only want to do that now that the case is over. You wanted to remain silent when all of this was going on and they were being harassed endlessly and you knew everything about it and you didn't say a damn word. But now you have nothing else to cover. The trial itself is over. So you dare go there? Shame on you. Shame on you, mainstream media. You should have covered it when it was happening and you helped in a way. You helped fuel that conspiracy instead of putting it out. And that is on you. Shame on mainstream media for that. Well, there's a lot of us, Allie, that do think she's guilty. You know? It's just insane. Oh, I love that name. I mean, I can whine about Canoni because she has no control over her courtroom. But Hank, I mean, tell me you know nothing about how to lawyer without telling me. I mean, the trial hasn't started, but the case started a while ago, you know? So they're already starting to position themselves over it, you know? I haven't really delved real deep into Delphi, but for everything that I see, I feel like they got the right person, you know? No, you guys are all special. That's why you're here, right? This community itself is special to me and to all of you. But that is a good question. Oh, God, he might be. He could be. It's a very real possibility. You're federally charged. Federal charges. If they're state charges can't be pardoned, but federal ones can. It does. There are a lot of us that think she's guilty that are here in mass. So don't fear. There are people that exist here. They just don't say it publicly because they don't want to be harassed into oblivion, unfortunately. You know, and I don't blame them. I really don't. But at the same time, if you remain silent, you're sort of helping that conspiracy grow the way and that's the way that they get away with it is by growing a conspiracy and feeding that conspiracy over and over and over and repeating things over and over and over until people believe it, whether it's true or not. They literally tell you, hey, your eyes and your ears are lying to you. You didn't see what you saw. You didn't hear what you heard. This is what actually happened. And they will literally feed you what they want you to say. You know? It does feel broken. It was already broken before that, but even more so now. That's another problem. If they think that they can make a ton of money off of a not guilty verdict, this is a shit show. And to me, she is hugely an attention seeker. She could have went away a long time ago. She didn't have to post on X. She could have stopped. She could have, went under a different name and didn't. It just keeps making like jokes like it's funny. Like when I'm done with my media and money tour, like, lady, a family's loved one has died. You're deplorable. Your attention and joking around. God have mercy on your soul, lady. Okay? Because you're going to need it one day. Because ultimately, one day we all die. And we all get judged somehow by something bigger than ourselves. And I'm not a hugely religious person, but I am spiritual. And I do believe that there's something bigger than ourselves. And that dash on your Your stone when you pass away that says your date of birth, your year of birth till your year of death. That dash in the middle is what you've done your entire life. What does that dash represent in your life? Juror number 11. Right now, it represents a callous woman who needed so much attention that she couldn't just do her civic duty and go away. And quietly go away. And the people who criticize anybody who are saying anything back to her, it's her civic. Oh, well, she did her civic. No, her civic duty was over after she voted and the judge let her go. That's the end of your civic duty. It's not part of your civic duty to get online and run your mouth and then make snarky comments and then get mad when other people publicly, after you publicly announce yourself, publicly say something back. That's not harassment. What's harassment is the people who have been harassing the Alberts, the McCabe's, and the O'Keefes. They didn't publicly announce themselves and say, here I am, and that didn't happen. Juror number 11 did and continues to, and she should be ashamed of herself. I feel sad for her 4 children. It is what it is, you know? Oh, I love this, Jezebel. I love this. Most people don't want to hear another word from her, you know? Like they don't seem to understand that no one else is ever going to be indicted, arrested, looked into. The FBI looked into this case. They closed it a long time ago. I tried to tell these people, like, listen, the FBI investigation is over and they found nothing. Almost a full year before they announced it. They found nothing. No one wanted to listen. Oh, how could you know? How could you know? You don't know what you're talking about. It's not over. And then even so, okay, it was over. It was over. And it was announced again, but this time publicly. And Karen came out and said, well, I don't think it's over. Even knowing it was. Her attorneys had already been confirmed that it was over. And so the sewer turtle then confirms the other day that he knew it was over and that him and Karen found out and they knew. So they misled people on purpose to keep believing that the federal investigation. Why FKR would they need to mislead you into thinking that that federal investigation was still ongoing? Why did they need to lie to you? None of you find it sketchy or shady that they had to lie to you about the federal investigation being over. Why not just say, yep, we confirmed it's over? Because they needed you to keep standing outside the courthouse and sending money to Karen and doing what you do. And if they had said, yes, we confirmed the federal investigation was over, you all could have realized that, oh crap, the feds looked into it, found nothing. They also like to forget when you tell them, like, hey, guess what? The federal investigation investigated and found nothing. The Alberts, the McCabe's, the cops, they were all cleared. They say funny things like they weren't cleared. They seem to forget that it was announced in court pretrial to the first trial, as a matter of fact, that they were cleared. That each one of their attorneys got to get up and say, we have spoken with the federal government. They have allowed us to say that our clients were cleared. Now, what's funny about that is the one time that, I think it was Yannetti, made that ridiculous false statement that the federal government said that they cannot, in good conscience, allow this case to go to trial. Remember that one? Remember that statement that Yannetti made? Well, guess what? That very same day, the federal government, the U.S. Attorney's Office, made a statement, a media statement, saying, nope, that did not happen, nor did we say that. Okay? So when people are like, they weren't cleared, their attorneys can say that, but they lied. The attorney's office did not clear them. They would have made a media statement just like they did when Yannetti lied. They were cleared. Their attorneys were able to represent that to the judge and in open court in front of the media. So for all the idiotic FKR people who are still like, they weren't cleared, they were cleared. Maybe you just started following it in trial 2. Maybe you were told they weren't, but they were. Go back and look for yourself. You can try to make sense of it any way you want. You can make up 72 excuses, but those are the facts. The facts are those people were all cleared. Do you know who wasn't cleared? The one person who was not looked into in that investigation, and it was Karen herself. The only person not cleared in that investigation. Amazing, huh? Amazing. Freaking amazing. Thank you, Michael. Jonah Petra brought up something to think about. He thinks all of this open up the investigation again is to avoid the witness intimidation because then they become suspects, not witnesses. Makes sense. Yeah, that's what they want. In their minds, if they go, oh, well, the investigation's still open, then they're suspects, not witnesses. Except the problem with that is they're still witnesses in the sewer turtles cases. They're still state's witnesses, and they are still state's witnesses in the Karen Reed trial. You cannot continue to harass witnesses even after that one case is over, because they are still witnesses in another ongoing case. They are still state witnesses. Wake up, idiots. Like, wake up. Oh, absolutely. You know, she's going to write a book that says, if I had backed up in 24 miles in reverse and killed John, how it would have happened. You know what I mean? She's never going to, of course, there's no interest. She knows it was her. She knows, you know, she has to live with that for the rest of her life, though. She has to live with it. Were clearly bought and paid for, even if it was just by having to say, like, hey, we could probably get paid for interviews after this if we do not guilty. People will want to hear from us. And then we won't be harassed by the mob. They'll love us. If that's how juries are going to work, we're in big trouble. We need to nip that in the ass. It's that simple. Well, yeah, it should be something to worry about in every trial. Every trial. Yeah, I'm sure. Oh, that's really sad. That is really sad. You know, yeah, she was fired from Fidelity. You guys want to hear a funny story? So one of you wonderful humans that I have become very close friends with, who has been following me since the first trial. I'm not going to say the person's name because, you know, but someone who has been following me for all this time did an amazingly good deed and got an air conditioner for my house. And it's 8,300 was it CPUs, air conditioner. So it should cool down most of the rest of my house, except because we had the one that was in the one room. So we're like, you know, sardines in there. So, but the lady who delivered it yesterday. Okay. Now, and this, I swear to God, this is why you sit there and think like everything happens for a reason. So there was this wonderful lady who came and delivered the AC to me, because the place that she bought it from, the lady who got it for us, and it was such a nice thing for her to do. And I just want to thank her. I know I already have, but I'm going to thank her 1,000 times more, because we would have been I wouldn't have been able to get one until like at least the end of July. And it is going to be very, very hot. And I have POTS. So it makes me feel like I'm going to pass out if I'm not cool. It makes you lightheaded, dizzy. So it's going to do wonders in my house to make everything nice and cool. And I appreciate it more than anyone knows. And it's a really nice air conditioner. It's not like a cheap air conditioner. So, but the company that she bought it from doesn't deliver on their own. They sort of do like a contract, almost like it's like a DoorDash sort of thing. Like another contract picks it up and delivers it to you, right? So the lady who came and dropped it off yesterday had to call me because I don't have front door access. That's for the other apartment. I only have side door access. So in order to get it up my driveway, she needed my help. So she calls and says she's here. And I'm like, oh, cool. Come outside, come outside and help her. So I came outside, I helped. And then we got it up on my stairs. And then when my husband got home, I had him carry it up the rest. But I was talking to her, and she was saying to me that she wanted to start her own show, her own YouTube channel. And I was like, girl, go for it. Like, I mean, it depends on what subject you're going to cover, but I say go for it. She was telling me that, and this was the day it was really hot. It's like 90 something. And she's like, I do this. And then later on, I'm going to do Amazon Flex. And I'm like, oh, damn, like that. And it doesn't pay well. I'll tell you that. It doesn't pay well. But she has a car, so she can do it. But I'm like, she's like, I really want to start my own channel. And I said, listen, don't wait, just do it. Like, even if it's just something you do as a hobby, you can build a community of amazing people. She said, I said, if you want, you can email me and I'll give you like a list of like cheap startup equipment that I used to get you going. And she was like, well, what do you do? I said, I do true crime. And she's like, oh, I probably already follow you. She's like, the Karen Reed case. I said, yep, I sure do. Just covered that case. She goes, I probably followed you. And I said, well, probably not. If you're one of the people that thinks that she was innocent, you probably don't follow me. I said, because she's guilty in my opinion. And I covered it from that angle. She goes, so what? She said to me, so what? She's like, I don't understand why it's so hard for people to understand that some other people have other opinions. They can't not be angry or harmful to other people. She said, do you want to know the kicker? She said, I live in Canton. I said, oh dear God, how do you do it? I said, bless your heart, girl. How do you live in Canton and deal with all this? Because I have a couple friends that live in Canton, and it sometimes is a lot to deal with, right? But I said to her, I said, listen, you can email me anytime you want, and I will give you like a list of, easy startup equipment that's not too expensive, cheap, and anything I have laying around that I don't use anymore, I'd gladly pass along to you. If you have, if you want to start a channel, I say just do it. Just do it, girl. I'll walk you through it and show you how to use the stuff like StreamYard or whatever application you choose to use to stream. Like, I'll show you how to use it. But do it. If that's something you've always wanted to do, just pull the trigger and do it, And so I don't think it was by accident that she was the one that came and delivered my air conditioner. So I know she said, well, I'm gonna have to find your channel, and if I don't already follow you. So to Lizette, I say thank you for dropping off my air conditioner. I appreciate you. And do it, girl. As I told you yesterday, just pull that trigger and freaking do it. Like, do it. Do it. So, I mean, I thought that was a really cute sort of, it's a small world story, right? Like, what are the odds that someone, because I don't live right near Canton, I'm at least 25, 30 minutes out from there. So, what are the odds? What are the odds? So I hope that I sort of encouraged her to just do it. If that's something that she has always wanted to do, I say do it. And she seemed very smart. She also seemed like a person who is not easily led. And we were talking about that. I said, well, there are two people. There are leaders and there are followers, and there's too many people following and not enough people sort of leading and using their own critical thinking. And she very much was not a follower, but a leader. And that's why I was like, just do it, girl. Just start that channel if that's what you want to do. You got to start somewhere. And I'd be more than happy to have her on, or whenever she starts it, give you guys the name of the channel, have people follow her. I think everything happens for a reason. And if I can help in some way, even if it's the smallest way, then I will, because I think as humans, we need to do better. My grandmother used to say things like, you got to be a better person today than you were yesterday. And sometimes we may fail at that because we're human, right? And human error. But others, we may do real well at it. And you don't have to spend $1 million to do something nice for someone or something kind for someone. We can all do something that doesn't cost money. It might cost a little bit of time, but what's a little bit of time to help someone else, So I thought it was a really cool thing that happened yesterday. And it was, I didn't think that was by accident, So it might, Joy. It might. I think it Oh, that must have been awful, Jack. I think, yeah, I think the next thing it's due by is something in August, and then there's something in December. I looked at the list, but I don't know. It's a good question, Val. It's a good question. I'm not really sure if it's going to be a televised or not. I'm still waiting for an email back from the court about the transcripts because I want those sidebars. I want them. Most civil stuff isn't always televised, but I do wonder. It depends on the judge, I guess, probably whether the media wants to, you never know. You never know. That will eventually that will happen. I just think it's, if you talk about OJ from years ago, I mean, some of the, as we watched, I think it was yesterday, no, not yesterday, the day before yesterday, because I wasn't here yesterday. The day before yesterday, as we saw, some of the jurors there admitted to making their verdict based upon not the evidence, but their feelings. Oh, of course. Is that the bald guy that followed around Turtle Boy for like the longest time? I know he's from like a Canton television place, but he was FKR from the start. But I do think eventually, the people will realize what they helped do. I just wonder at this point if any of those people are going to feel bad about it. I will tell you this. I will tell you that the sewer turtle has already started dropping little nuggets, is what I like to call them. He has a very known pattern of behavior. And it goes something like this. Either he doesn't like someone or he gets jealous. I kid you not, jealous like a toddler, like a middle schooler. He gets jealous, upset, sad, or he feels slighted in some way. Like he feels like it belongs to him and only him and no one else should have it. And if they do, it's a problem. He's one of those types. Yep, narcissism at its finest. But he will start doing things like letting out information or taking little digs at someone. And it'll be dig, 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 publicly, publicly, publicly. And then comes the meltdown. And he will just fully, publicly melt the F down. Right? Well, folks, for the last couple of days, he's been whining and crying that Alan Jackson and David Yannetti and Karen will not respond to him. He can't even get a text back. They won't give him an interview. And everyone else is getting the interviews to the point where other content creators are on that side are sort of putting out these messages like, hey guys, if you get an interview with David Yannetti or Alan Jackson, then can you please allow Aiden to co-anchor with your live stream? Now, what he doesn't seem to realize, this is the best thing, what he doesn't seem to realize is that Alan Jackson, David Yannetti, and Karen Reed don't want anything to do with him. So they will not go on a show that allows him to co-anchor. They won't allow, like, that's one of the things is I'll come on your show, but if they invite him on, they won't do it. Why, you say? Well, he did try to blackmail their client. Now, if he tries to mingle with them, it is going to look like they planned this in the entire time. They need to keep their distance from him for two reasons. One, because they know he's a sniveling little gremlin. And two, because they don't want it to look like they planned it the entire time. The main one being that Aiden tried to blackmail Karen during the trial because he wasn't getting a seat in court and because he wasn't going on court TV, which was his own fault, by the way. Because of his mouth and his need to call women the C word, he was not allowed on court TV. The executive producer would not have him on because of his own mouth. So he got mad that Nick Rocco was on and told Nick, you shouldn't go on if I can't go on. Basically, saying this is my case. And if you go on, you shouldn't go on because I can't, basically. Now, a lot of people had pointed out a lot of times, like, this is not your case. You don't own this case. You're not the only one covering this case. You don't get to tell people what they can or can't do. And then he would say things on his live stream like, I don't own this case. People can do whatever they want. But then when people would do whatever they want, he would threaten them. He would try to blackmail them. And this is what he did to the Roccos and Karen. And he said, well, if she doesn't save me a seat in court, or if she doesn't do what I want, I will go to Tully. I will go to Tully and I will tell him basically that I got the addresses for where to go to these people's houses for that rolling rally from Karen herself. So the Roccos went to Alan Jackson, and Alan Jackson said, well, that's blackmail, but what are we going to do? The Norfolk District Attorney's Office isn't going to help us. So what do we do? There's nothing we can do. So basically they had to appease him, but also keep him at a distance until this was over. Now that there's nothing to blackmail anymore, they don't have to deal with him, nor do they trust him. So they're just going to push away from him slowly but surely, never speak to him again. And he's not getting the hint. Oh yeah, they definitely did. They did that on purpose, that barging in on purpose. I mean, I feel like that poor guy is probably being bombarded by, people asking him to, go on their shows, and I don't want to overwhelm him. A lot of these people know we're here, we exist. I don't want to, over bombard them from what they're already dealing with. Yeah, no one wants to talk to him because he burns everything he touches. He is a plague. He's a cancer. He literally kills anything he's anywhere near. Okay? Like, I don't know if she got paid, but we're hearing someone got paid up to 50 grand for an interview, but we have no idea I don't know which juror and if that was true or not. I have no idea, but that's what we've heard. Yeah, her dad, she said she brought him here from Brazil so he could babysit, which made no sense to me, but okay. No, he doesn't have any class, and I definitely don't want those types of viewers. I just don't. Those are the types of viewers I don't want. People who have no critical thinking skills, no kind of, none of it. You know what I mean? They follow what they're told to follow, and they believe what they're told to believe. My viewers, on the other hand, most of you do plenty of your own deep dives and information, and sometimes are very helpful to me with bringing me information. So I appreciate all of you for that. I appreciate every single one of you, but I don't want an audience I don't want that type of audience. I want a type of audience for people who can think for themselves, who also are human, who want to be a part of this community, but also understand that the cases that we cover have to do with real lives, real victims, real people, not just names, not just numbers, not just cases, but real lives, real people, and at least I attempt to put humanity into these cases by mentioning the things that as long as I have that information, the things these people like to do, the things that they love to do in their free time, or their favorite color, or, because they were human, they were people. People deserve to know who they were, not just how they died. Probably one of the nicest notes I ever got was from a case I did early on in my show when I started. And it was the case of this young man who a couple people I know knew him, and he was ejected from a car in Canton, actually right at the top of Meadows. And the police did not find him for hours. They thought he ran, and he was on the lawn just feet away, and they did not find him. And I had done the case, but I did a deep dive of the things he loved and the things he liked to do and the person that he was. Not just the accident and where he was found and why, but about himself as a person. And I got a really nice email from his brother after I did that case, and actually two of his friends, and probably some of the nicest to date emails from any one family member of the cases I've done. It was a beautiful note from his brother and his friends, and I really appreciated it. And that's what they loved, is that I had covered it in a way that about him and his life, not just how he passed, but who he was. These people are people too. Oh yeah, they did go with the process, but let's make it very clear. He will eventually turn on. It's not an if, it's a when. And he's already started his little dog whistles because he's not getting the interviews that Karen promised him. He's not getting the big, and he doesn't have much more to go on. He doesn't have much more to go on in this case. There's not much more he can talk about. And so if he can't get these big interviews, all he's doing is regurgitating stuff, and he's going to have to move on from it. But he doesn't have content to move on with. He's not a true crime channel. He's not going to magically start covering true crime. If he does, that lets everyone know what he's about. You know? Oh, absolutely, he can still do it. She would be likely to get charged with the witness intimidation. Talking about the big ones, at least. The big charges, even if she knew, you know, if he knew something there, it's not likely that anything would happen there. But yeah, she could still be charged with the witness intimidation charges. But I think at this point, why would she care? She thinks her attorneys would be able to get her off on it. She could just buy another mob, right? So, I mean, she doesn't have to associate with him anymore. But the more she doesn't associate with him, the more he'll freak out. The more insecure little man he'll become, because he already is one. He becomes more and more of one. The more sniveling and whining he does behind closed doors and publicly. Okay. He looked like he was going to cry the other night talking about it. I have the clip of him saying like, well, I you know, they're not even accepting my calls. They won't even email me back. Sorry, bro. You're a stain on society. Why would they want to? You tried to blackmail their clients and you thought that was going to be like, you're going to run off into the sunset together? Dude, you better be lucky that she's even signing on to whatever documentary she was doing with you in it. And she doesn't say, hey, get him the hell out of here or I'm not doing it. That's the next thing to go. You know, because I mean, they're not going to take the risk that you do something like that again. They can't trust you. You tried to blackmail them over a seat in the court. I mean, you're a crazy person. You belong in a mental institution and locked up in prison as well. You belong in Bridgewater, sir. You know? I mean, I don't think it was that he was overconfident. I think any normal person saw that evidence and said, this is a no-brainer. If you have a decent enough jury, you know, I don't think any of us thought that we would get the kind of jury that we did. Once they started opening their mouths, I was like, holy shit, the intelligence level of some of these jury members is deeply concerning. Deeply concerning. I mean, if you can't appreciate the amazing job that Hank Brennan did, then you know nothing about law or how to lawyer at all. Alessi drove on and on and on. You couldn't even follow him if you tried. He was talking about things that made no sense, asking questions of things that had no answer. It was crazy. It was crazy. Crazy, you know? It's not that, I mean, you have to, I mean, do you trust my judgment? I was pretty confident they would have gotten a guilty. And I mean, they did get a guilty on the OUI, and I knew they would get guilty on something. I mean, I wasn't there to read the jury, obviously, but I mean, hey, they could have also been playing it off on purpose because I feel like some of these people lied on purpose to get onto this jury, you know? I couldn't imagine either. I think that some of the other jurors that thought she was guilty were clearly bullied. And you can tell by some of the things that these other jurors said that they kind of were bullied or mob mentality into voting not guilty, you know? Well, he is an opportunist. He's an opportunist that also lies for a living. He doesn't care if the information is actually true. He only cares if it's going to hide his own bad criminal behavior or if he's trying to take out what he sees as someone who's either competition or more intelligent than him, or he thinks they're getting more views or more money, whatever it is, he'll just make something up to take you out. And one by one, he will turn on every single one of these other people that got these interviews that he didn't get because he's jealous and upset. Make no mistake about it. He will start flipping out. It's just going to take time. And realistically, usually when he starts dropping these little Easter eggs, sort of poking a little hole at someone, usually it's T-minus 5 minutes before he freaks out. So I'd say probably real soon, at least at someone. You know? I don't know how anybody listens to anything he says. He contradicts himself in the same sentence that he's talking in. So I don't really understand. Yeah, no question him. Go with the process. And they did, like dum-dums. Even when he lied, and he was blatantly lying to their faces, and then admits it afterwards. You know? Rachel Rollins is friends with the Sewer Turtle. So I don't think Rachel Rollins, I mean, she was fired for corruption. So, but I will tell you this. I will tell you that at least from what I'm hearing, that, you know, he's got a long hill to climb with all the crimes that he keeps committing that keep being reported. He can't help himself but to keep threatening people. That's on him. You know? Sad. You know? Really sad. I think he needs to be convicted. He needs to go to prison. And that would be to go a little bit towards justice for these people. You know? Yeah, it's not an if, it's a when. It's not an if. It's absolutely going to happen. It's just a when. And this is something that he has done every single time. It's a pattern of behavior going back long before this case existed. So it's definitely not an if. It's a when. You know? I think, you know, Mr. Reed there could make anyone uncomfortable with his nonsensical staring at people. I have to believe in karma. Oh, he's going to keep milking it. But the problem is you can only talk about it for so long, dude. The case is over. You're just going to keep talking about the same things that have happened for years and years and then never cover anything else. Go back to ratchet madness. Like, you know, what in the hell? Like, what in the hell? It's possible. It's possible. I think we're all here for that. Like, lock him up and throw away the key. Oh, yeah, he definitely thought they were going to run away together. He did. He thought he was going to get all the big interviews because that's what he was promised. Karen promised him the first interview. He did not get that. And all the credit. She promised him all the credit. And that's in writing. She did not give him that. But what changed in the meantime was his trying to blackmail her. And he is so deluded that he can't even put that together. Like, oh, shit, I tried to blackmail her. That's why they don't want anything to do with me now that the trial's over. Oh, crap. He's so deluded, he doesn't understand why. I mean, buddy, you really need some mental health help. That's like Delululand times 2, you know? Oh, that it's definitely going to happen. Definitely going to happen. 100%. Oh, yeah. Well, make no mistake. When he says he's fine and he's not upset about something, you can bet that he is really, really, really upset about something. The fact that he keeps mentioning it means that he's really upset about it. Really upset about it. The fact he keeps saying he's okay, everything's fine, he doesn't really care, means he really cares. You know? Just sad. I love Hank. Hank did a great job. Well, that's what I'm concerned about, right? It emboldened a lot of these people to keep doing these things, and now they're bringing it over to other cases like Sandra Birchmore and the Idaho, and that concerns me. For the victims' families in other cases, they don't deserve to deal with this. This can't happen again. You know? Oh, yeah, some kooky nutty decided to go stand outside in the road in front of John's house and do a victory dance. And then people were on X going, oh, she's mentally ill. She did it other places in Canton. I'm sorry. I'm not. I have CPTSD. You're not using mental illness as a goddamn excuse. It's not an excuse. All right. She was cognitive enough to drive there in her car and not crash into a pole. She was cognitive enough to be wearing a hat and what she was wearing. She was cognitive enough to do the dance, get in her car, drive away. But she's mentally ill, and so we should take it down. No, sorry. We're not using it as an excuse. It's not a crutch. I have CPTSD, and I am still in treatment for my CPTSD, anxiety, panic, along with many physical illnesses. But what you're not going to do is sit there and go, well, she's just mentally ill because she was an FKR person. That's not how this works. It's called accountability, folks. Accountability. Then they tried to say she wasn't an FKR person. She was. Because they didn't want that tied to them. It's like, what you don't want it tied to you, but you're perfectly okay with calling the family names. That's okay. You can call them killers. You can call them liars. You can call them the C word. You can call them maggots. You can call them all of that. All of those things are okay that you write online or you scream in public, but going in front of the house and dancing, oh, you don't want anything to do with that. Are you guys that deluded, FKR? That freaking deluded? that diluted it. You don't seem to realize that none of those behaviors are okay. None of them. And that one isn't worse than the other. They're all just deplorable. All of them. Deplorable behavior. Like, come on. That's ridiculous. I mean, he did a great job when it came to the first trial and telling us what was really going on inside, because from someone else that I knew that was inside, it coincided with a lot of what actually did happen. And so we didn't just have him there. I had other people that told me what happened. And so, his stuff lined up with what was being said. So, I mean, sometimes you just read the room wrong, I guess. With the jury, I don't know. They could be playing poker faces. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Oh, I can't with him. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The lawyer, is just a deplorable human being. And once again, these are the same people moving over to Sandra Birchmore in Idaho 4. And I can't stand it. I can't. I just can't. Oh, that'll happen too. And then the sad part about it is nobody's going to feel bad for her. Every other woman who's been victimized by him has been embraced because they're a victim of the gaslighting, of the narcissism, of all of it. The problem with her is she's not a victim. She's engaging in that behavior herself against anyone and everyone that he doesn't like, and then making dozens upon dozens of fake accounts to spew lies, racist, misogynistic, and even sexist shit. She calls women whose numbers are in his phone or on his Facebook. She harasses people into oblivion, any of his exes and any of his exes' friends. No one, and I mean no one except her little free Karen Reed friends, are going to feel bad for her when it does happen. And he probably wasn't going to deal with it during the trial because he knows that would be bad. And he's probably trying to wait until after his cases are over. But make no mistake, when a man just keeps cheating and cheating and cheating, and you keep staying and staying and staying like an idiot, eventually either he's going to leave or you're going to leave. And that's going to go bad. People would have felt bad for her. But when you become just as vile and just as bad as him, no one's going to feel bad for you. And listen, I feel bad for pretty much everyone. I'm a pretty sympathetic or empathetic person. I have zero empathy or sympathy for her. None. That's the problem. If this is the types of juries we have where people are bought and paid for, I mean, we're in deep trouble here, I mean, I think Jackson knows, what was Jackson going to say? He outlawyered me and we still won. Jackson's a deplorable human being, And I do believe that karma comes around once in a while. And when karma comes to bite him in the ass, I'll be here with my popcorn to laugh. Because if he didn't self-report himself to the BBO after lying to the court and the judge making a finding that they lied knowingly and a multitude of times, if they didn't self-report immediately to the BBO, they're in even more trouble. Because you can make sure the BBO is aware of what happened. So Jackson, funny enough, is going to have to deal with the BBO for his unethical and deplorable behavior. You know who isn't? Brennan himself, folks.
I see you ranting about our favorite alleged adulterer.
Yep.
Yeah, that guy is a joke. I mean, at the end of the day, they did everything they could to win that case. Dirty, disgusting behavior. Now we can finally go back to California and defend pedophiles and rapists again.
Right?
You know what I mean? Alleged pedophiles and rapists. Sorry. Yeah, because that was his whole firm. That's the whole focus of the firm. Kevin Spacey, Weinstein, all these high-profile individuals. He's probably angry that he couldn't defend Diddy. He might have gotten a lot of money if he defended Diddy.
I mean, yeah, they definitely could charge her with witness intimidation or a multitude of obstruction of justice, other things if he does flip on her. And, that's another thing. Why are we harassing the children of John O'Keefe who have been orphaned twice, or technically 3 times, because they lost their dad 6 months after their mom and then their uncle 8 years later? That's three people that they lost. And you're out there harassing children.
Yeah, did
wrong
you
with
see
you?
that? Like, apparently, Turtle Boy's condemning the dancing person in front of the house. He's like, "I hate you." I'm like, bro, we know what's the truth.
Please, bro. Him condemning anything is absurd. But it's okay to run outside of schools and call himself a sex goblin, or, you know, call the victim's mother a C word. That's totally okay. But anybody else doing it because it gets condemned by more people, he's got to say something.
Well, I think like he may realize it's bad optics. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, it's bad optics, and then now they're trying to figure out what's the next thing to jump on, and they're realizing, oh shit, really, the Birchmore case is not that big, and all the grifters are realizing like, we really don't have another grift. Like she's out of jail. I mean, we could keep on reviewing like and accusing innocent people of being killers, but that can only last for so long because at the end of the day, nothing's going to happen.
LTL, who said like, "Oh, I'm going to move on to the Idaho 4," and I was like totally disgusted that he said that because we had already, started covering that. But he said, "Oh, I'm going to move on to Idaho 4," and then what does he immediately do? Immediately goes on another stream with Jess Machado, who printed many false stories about Lindsay, things that she never confirmed, shit she heard from Turtle Boy that she just printed as if that's not journalism. Okay. You never reach out to the person you're writing a story about to confirm any of said details. That's not journalism. It's not how it works. Okay.
Yeah. So they had to report themselves to the BBO. Someone's asking.
So yes, they have to. So when that happens, they are supposed to self-report immediately. If they didn't self-report, it's already been reported. So they're going to be in even more trouble if they did not self-report themselves to the BBO for that.
Yeah, by the way, if it was so unconstitutional, as Jackson says, they would have brought a lawsuit immediately, a civil litigation lawsuit. And I don't suspect that she's going to bring a lawsuit. I suspect that what she's going to do is probably, if she's smart, keep her mouth shut and maybe do a couple of documentaries, write a book, and make some grifting money so she can pay for her lawsuit, her civil lawsuits that is going on right now.
Pretty much.
I mean, and Jackson's going to go back to Hollywood to, yell at other victims of crimes. That's his whole stick, attack victims of actual crimes. And the rest of the grifters are going to find out that, when you cover one story, eventually what happens is that your audience, some of your audience will stay with you, but a lot of them skedaddle away. It just happens in every single true crime case. Yeah. And they're going to realize the numbers are not there. So they're going to try to like attach themselves to, until that horse is well beaten. When that, beat that dead horse, because they realize like at the end of the day, like, no, there is no going to be a reopening of the FBI investigation. No one else is going to be arrested. And basically it's just the killer got away with it. Simple as that. I mean, it's really a story as old as time. It's just how it is.
You're right though. It's that simple. It's not. That's literally it. And Chris, I can't answer that because I don't follow her. Maybe B Tim has seen them, but I don't follow her, so I have no idea. I mean, all I've seen thus far is her praising juror number, attention seeker, but I don't follow her. So
yeah,
I did hear that Foreman was working with like a high price PR firm, which is just gross.
Well, I heard the foreman, the African-American gentleman, I think got paid $50,000 to do an interview with TMZ.
TMZ, right? Yeah, I heard that, but I don't know if it's true. I have no confirmation.
I can believe that. TMZ pays money. They do. And they do pay a lot of money. I mean,
especially for an inside scoop.
Yeah, for like that type of inside scoop, I would, because if the thing is, a lot of these guys, I'm like listening to juries, it wouldn't have mattered what,
So yeah, Alba's right. AJ had to shoot the messenger because he couldn't argue the facts. And here's a fun fact, Alba. She didn't actually go to the prison to meet him. She was already one of his followers. So she was already showing up way back when I first started covering this case and going to the courthouse. She was already going to every one of his hearings.
Be right back.
She was sitting there. Yep. She was sitting in there already with her little friend Deanna before he went to prison. So it's when he went to prison and was no longer with his girlfriend that he decided to immediately within 2 days pick up a new girlfriend who wrote to him when she was already a groupie of his. She was already going to his hearings and sitting there. She was already doing it. So that's what's funny to me. Like, I'm sorry, but You decide that when someone's in prison, that's a great time to say, hey, let's date right after he goes to jail. I mean, what kind of morals do you have as a human being to think that that is okay? I did. Yeah, we watched a clip of what he said, and I was like, can he get words out? Like, he's not even answering the questions. Everything is a free Karen Reed talking point. Made no sense to me. Like, answer some real hard questions, you know? So yes, they do have to report themselves, but even if they didn't, it's already been reported by many people. So if they didn't, they'll be in even more trouble for not doing it. So if they chose to say, we're not reporting ourselves to the BBO, they knew the entire world's watching them. They knew we were watching them. They knew if they didn't, they're going to be in more trouble. So if they chose not to, that's going to be even worse for them, you know? Him condemning anything is ridiculous. I mean, it's hypocritical and it's absurd, you know? Yeah, she is. She was found guilty on that OUI. You know, she was found guilty on that OUI. She's not supposed to be drinking alcohol. So if somebody catches her with alcohol and takes a picture in public, that's a violation of probation. She could sit in jail for that. Plenty of people do for violations of probation. Never. She doesn't know how to keep her mouth shut. She does not know how to keep her mouth shut. It was juror number 4, Alba said. Juror number 4. She definitely does have a criminal record now. She was found guilty on the OUI. That's a criminal record. That is a criminal, you know? Juror number 11 is the one that's doing her tour on X and everywhere else on planet Earth. Yes, that's, the target one. Yeah, that's her. She's juror number 11. Well, the consequences of not reporting are up to the BBO, and the BBO enforces that. So when you don't self-report for something like that, and then because they're going to have a hearing about it anyway, and you get into that hearing, they can have consequences for you not doing that. And that's up to them to decide which consequence it's going to be, but it makes it even worse and gets you closer to losing your law license, because you're not only did something extremely unethical, but you also didn't follow the protocol you were supposed to follow, and you knew the entire world was watching. So yeah, it makes it even worse. She did. Well, Dighton doesn't have a courthouse. That's why. So she didn't move it from Dighton. She moved it from Dedham to Fall River, because if she's living in Dighton with her parents, Fall River would be the jurisdiction. So the courthouse that would cover Dighton would be Fall River. It's the closest courthouse and she lives in Bristol County, not Norfolk County. So if she had still lived in Norfolk County, she would have stayed in Dedham. But because she lives in Bristol County, it was always going to go out to where the jurisdiction lands where she lives. So they were always going to move her probation to where she lives. So if she's living in Dighton with her parents, then the jurisdiction is Bristol County, which is and Dighton would be the Fall River courthouse is the closest one. Her house was in Mansfield and she did sell it, but her parents live in Dighton. So if that's where she's staying or using the address as, I mean, she better be staying there. She better have moved out of the hotel, because probation can come by anytime they want unannounced. And if you're not actually living there and they keep coming by and you're not actually living there, that's whereabouts unknown, which can get you a warrant for your arrest. And that's a probation violation. They have to know where you are. Yes, but Dighton isn't a jurisdiction. There is no jurisdiction called Dighton. There's no courthouse for Dighton. She's in Superior Court, so her probation would have been moved to Bristol County. Bristol County courthouses, the one that would be in the jurisdiction of Dighton, is Fall River. I've seen the probation request. It was a request to be transferred, and it would have been transferred anyway. She has to sign the request of transfer, but it would have been transferred anyway, because it goes by where you live, where your address is. So even though she was convicted in Dedham, she lives in Dighton. At least that's what she claims with her parents. So then it would move jurisdictions from Norfolk County so even if she didn't ask for it to be moved, it would have been anyway, and it's the same form. So there isn't two separate forms, like one that you're asking for it to be moved and one it's the same form that basically says, hey, you're asking for it to be moved. There's not two forms. There's not one that goes, oh, hey, we're automatically moving it, or hey, you're asking. You still sign the one that says you're asking. But that's because she lives in Bristol County. There is no courthouse in Dighton, no Superior Courthouse in Dighton for her to have probation out of. So it has to be Fall River. That's the only place that has a Superior Courthouse for Bristol County for her to see probation. So that's why it was moved to Fall River. Yes, a request to be transferred from Norfolk County to Bristol County because she lives in Bristol County. She does not live in Norfolk County. And her case was in Norfolk County because that's where it happened. So she's going to see probation in Bristol County. Bristol County being the Fall River Courthouse, because that's so she doesn't have to live in Fall River. Bristol County itself, anything that would be a Superior Court probation in Bristol County, you would go to the Fall River Courthouse. That's where probation is for the Fall River Courthouse. So, yeah, yes. So she'll have to go to probation, however, once a month, once a week, it depends, but at least once a month to Fall River, depending on where. So it used to be Colors, and you would call every single day between, I think it's 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. The hours are different in different places, but about a little bit past business hours, you'd call. If your color pops up, you have until 6, 6 or 7, depending on the place. And there's a specific place that you would have to go to take a drug test. So sometimes that's the courthouse itself. Other times it's usually a drug testing facility.
Yeah.
And so you would have to go to the drug testing facility, take your drug test between those hours if your number or your color is called, and do it. So if she calls 3 times a week and she gets it 3 times a week, 3 times during that week, on those days, she'd have to go and take that drug test and leave. And if she doesn't, that's a violation of probation. If you fail, it's a violation.
I gotta go. Just read the back. I'm not gonna say anything, but it's good to see.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
All right, it's fine. I just got the call. You have a good one. Bye.
Bye, B Tim. Everybody send your love to B Tim now. It just has something family wise going on. Really sad, and we send all of our love. We send all of our love to you, B Tim. You let us know if you need anything, my friend. Right, stays with AJ. If he hasn't gone back to California yet, I don't know. Yes, unsupervised, but she has supervised, So in Massachusetts, supervised probation, criminal supervised probation, they do home visits. Misdemeanor, unsupervised, they don't. And as far as I know, hers is supervised. Even though if it's a misdemeanor, you can still have supervised probation. It just depends on our laws here for DUI and OUI are really strict. Even if it's a misdemeanor, if it's a certain misdemeanor, I believe alcohol, it's supervised, not unsupervised. So they would still be able to pop up at your house. Oh, believe me, I do. I worked in the criminal justice system, and unfortunately, I used to have to take my brother to do his probation way back in the day. And they popped up at our house quite a few times for her supervised probation. And they, sometimes they make an appointment and they come out to see you. They have to. And they come in twos. They don't just come one. They have to bring someone else with them that works in the office, so they're not alone in case something dangerous happens. But they can just pop up, and they will, if they think something's up, just pop up at your house. And if you keep not being there, even if they pop up and you're not there, and then they make an appointment and they come and you're not there, that's whereabouts unknown. Non-supervised probation is like a slip you fill out every month and send in. It's really nothing. But supervised probation has a little bit more to it. And because she's got to do alcohol classes, I'm guessing it's a supervised, because normally with OUIs and DUIs, at least here in Mass, I don't know about other states, it's usually supervised probation for those things. It depends. We're strict on our stuff here. It's supervised. Yeah. So that means if it's supervised, she has to go see her probation officer. They can pop up whenever they want. Unsupervised would just be a form they send you every month. Did you do this, this, and this? Are you still living at this address? Blah, blah, blah. And then you'd fill out and you send it back once a month. But supervised is a little more intense. And because she's got that 24D program, she has to enroll in those alcohol classes, unfortunately. No. If you are, no. Normally, any probation for drugs or alcohol would have drug or alcohol testing attached to it. I have never seen a case for an OUI, DUI, or a drug case that did not include alcohol or drug testing. The problem with it being just alcohol is it's out within a certain amount of hours. So unless you get like so drunk, if you only have a few drinks, it's out of your system in a few hours anyway. So most of the time they don't catch people if it's just alcohol unless that person's coming in stinking like alcohol. That's the problem with that. Or if they have to have the interlocking device in their vehicle to drive, then you'd have to blow into it and it won't start your car until you blow into it and there's no alcohol in your system. So, but if you just use someone else's car, you can get around that as long as you don't get pulled over because you're only supposed to be driving your own car with the device in it. So, you know, it's supervised is, you know, worse, obviously. But no, she shouldn't be allowed to drink on probation. No, even a first offense here, you wouldn't be allowed to. I've never seen anybody get away with no alcohol or drug testing in a case that has to do with alcohol or drugs. You know, yeah, it is demanding. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Interlock, exactly, an interlock system here too. But I think the loss of license probably means she wouldn't be, you know, unless you got a car back. Exactly. If you try to trick it, have someone else blow into it, people get caught doing that dumb shit, you know? I don't know. I don't know if they're counting the time that she's already not been driving. I don't know. Oh, absolutely. 100%. Yeah, every time. Every single time. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Right. I mean, sad part about it is they need something better for people who are there just for alcohol and not for drugs, because where drugs sit in your system for a number of days, alcohol does not. It's easier to come out of your system. So they really need something that can find whether you were drinking a day or two ago versus, you know, just these random testing that, you know, if you're calling at 11 and you don't have to go in until 6 and you just drink water for 5 hours, it's gone. It probably was almost gone by the time you woke up. So, you know, that's another issue. But hey, it is what it is. All right, we've been here 2 hours and 43 minutes. Do me a favor, y'all, hit that like button, the subscribe button if you already have not. If you can donate to the channel, we would very well appreciate it. You know, we're only getting by on donations from you guys. That is how we keep the channel running. That's how we keep covering cases and going over things and making sure that we bring you guys the best cases and content that we can. We rely on the kindness of all of you. And hopefully, once we get in a swing of things where we have memberships coming in all the time and a steady flow of maybe merchandise or super chats, maybe then we won't really need donations as much. And I hope to get there at some point so that we can just roll along. You know, I did, for all of you who did see, I did make up some merchandise already. I have not finished, but I have made some. I have some mugs that I made, tank tops, t-shirts. There are flip-flops, although the flip-flops are a little pricey, I'm not gonna lie. But again, I can set the prices upwards, but I have it set on the lowest it'll let me. So, and they're still quite pricey, but once again, they print it, they send it out. I don't do any of that. They do all of it. There are sweatshirts, there's bucket hats for people StreamYard needs to get better with their buffering, I'm telling you. Also, we have stickers. Stickers. We have stickers. Water bottles, regular glasses, all sorts of stuff. We have some Free Chloe stickers, some Don't Be Shy stickers, water bottles. I will obviously make more. I just haven't had time to make all of them. And I'm also looking for pet stuff that I haven't had a chance to do yet, but it is in the area of merchandise on the store. I have pinned it also in the video, so you can just click on that and see the store yourself for the things that I've already made. Yeah, well, she definitely spoiled. You can definitely say that again. That's for sure. Let's hope not, because she's going to have to deal with probation. I am working on, sorry guys, I was just checking something. I am working on dealing with a couple other cases that we're going to be doing, but we do have a couple coming up for trials themselves. If you guys, the documentary I noticed that I mentioned the other day, for those of you that weren't here, you want a good true crime documentary, I suggest on YouTube, The Ghosts of Highway 20. It's a really good true crime documentary. And I think I'm going to put it in chat so you guys know what it's called. I think you'll love it. I don't know why they didn't put this one on Netflix, or maybe the Oregonian didn't want to sell it or buy out, but it was very well made. They did a great job, and it was very interesting. And I'm glad that it sort of focused a lot on the victims and not just the serial killer himself. But it was a really good true crime documentary. So if it's something that you're looking to watch and haven't seen something, it's on YouTube. It's very well made. And I think a lot of you loving true crime would enjoy it. So it's called Ghosts of Highway 20, made by the Oregonian. Yeah, they don't play with the probation here. Oh, I'd probably quit too. Be like, entitled, spoiled, rotten brat. I would probably quit myself. Kid you not, I would probably quit. All right. So thank you, Jack, for your super sticker from the show. I appreciate you, my friend. Oops. Why is that doing that? Boop. Make sure that I thanked everyone before I wrap this up. I think I did. Making sure, but I think I did. Okay. You got to give it a few minutes. Once you get past the first like 5 minutes, because it's the first victim, you'll find that it's really interesting. You gotta get past the first like 5 or 10 minutes are kind of slow because it's the very first victim and it's her story first. But once you start rolling in it, it's good. It's very, very good. I know. She didn't have to check in with probation, I think, until the next day or something like that. So I guess she took her last hurrah party. I mean, even though technically once you're on probation, even though you haven't checked in with your probation officer yet, you still aren't supposed to be drinking. But hey, you know, if they catch her drinking, it's a violation of probation. And a lot of people who violate probation, they don't mess around with. They will put you in jail for up to 90 days until you have a violation of probation hearing and like a whole shebang. But they will stick you there. No ifs, ands, or buts. They don't care whether it's your first offense or your 15th. They don't give a shit. So, hey, it is what it is. All right. So let's say 9:30 tomorrow morning instead of 10:30. I did 10:30 today because I really needed like that extra hour of sleep. If you are on my replay crew, I love your stinking face as well. And I love my replay crew. You guys are just as important as everybody else. If you donate on the live show when I'm not live anymore in your replay, I will read it on the next one. Of course, all the information is in the description of the video. It's also on the front of the channel. We have some of our merch up and going. Take a look at that. Check it out. I absolutely appreciate all of you sticking around. We're going to do some more in-depth coverage of the Idaho case, of course, and a couple other ones that I've been working on behind the scenes. I got my new poofy pens out, and my new notebook, because I needed a whole new notebook because I filled it all up. So I needed a whole new one. So we might be on a field trip this weekend. I don't know how well that's going to work out, but we might be on a field trip this weekend. So I will bring my laptop if that is the case. All right. I love your stinking faces, and I will see you all at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Until then, everybody have an amazing day and try to stay cool. Love you. Bye.